What's going on, everybody? Welcome into Blazers Uprise Live. Today, we're going to preview the play-in series between the Blazers and the Memphis Grizzlies. Tomorrow, we have the chance to officially play our way into the first round, into a matchup with the Los Angeles Lakers. Tonight, we're not going to focus on the Lakers, though I know some of you guys might have some questions about how we match up against the Lakers and what that series might look like. But first, we got to take care of business against the Memphis Grizzlies. We got two chances to win one game. We should be able to take care of business. This is the perfect situation. This is exactly what we wanted going into the final day of the regular season, so now we just have to capitalize on it. What's going on, Darren, Shervins, Destrom? Hopefully
What's gaming? Ben Darling's in here after.
We got Ben in here. What's up, man?
What's up, Daniel?
Hopefully the internet is good today. We're going to talk about.
Vivek's broken down all our stuff.
Vivek already spoiled the whole entire stream and chat. But we are going to break down
What's up, Malcolm?
Some of the matchups, some of the X factors going into this game. We already saw the Grizzlies once at the start of the bubble. That game went into overtime. We started off with a pretty commanding lead, but then the Grizzlies went on a crazy, I think it was like a 25-3 run or something like that in the second half to take a lead. And then
Wait, when was that?
First game of the bubble.
No, I mean, when did they go on their run?
Third quarter.
Oh, yeah.
Third quarter.
I would have never guessed that if you
the
didn't
patented know. Third quarter. Bro, you know what I want to see? I want to see, like, our score versus the other team's score in the third quarter this season. It has to be maybe the worst in the league. Like, we are actually a very, very good team if you just take out the third quarter.
I'm guessing in the bubble, other than maybe the Celtics game, we had to have lost every third quarter, right?
But that's what's weird. When we were down like 20 at half, then all of a sudden we come back in the third quarter. You know what I mean? We're rarely down 20 at half, but whenever we're down big, we come back hard in that third quarter. It doesn't make sense to me.
You know why?
Why is that?
Because the other team's like, oh, we're up 20, we got this, and they take their foot off the gas instead of like, oh, we're down 6, we need to change something.
Yeah.
And then we don't adapt to it, but yeah.
Yeah. I will say that second half of that Boston game, we did come out with more energy. That was the only time where we came out with more energy out of the halftime locker room. So hopefully that's something we can fix. That is the key to tomorrow. Let's try and have a decent third quarter. Let's try and outscore them in the third quarter. Don't even worry about the rest of the game. Just try and have a good third quarter. If we do that, we should be fine. Finn the Human says, yo, is this the Fire's Thoughts fan club? No, this is Blazers Uprise Live. It says down below the video. That's where it says who you're watching.
But Tori is the president of the Fire's Thoughts fan club.
I am the president.
I'm the vice president.
Yep. So this channel is not the Fire's Thoughts fan club. That's a future channel, you know. If we lose these two playing games, I will start that as a channel.
Destrom, you're not the president, man.
Nope.
You cannot tell me a single person has hated Stotts longer than Torrey Jones here. So,
bro, I was complaining about the same things I'm complaining about now, like 4 years ago, and everybody thought I was crazy. Now there's still a lot of people that think I'm crazy, but there's also a lot of people that see what I'm talking about. So it's definitely a split thing. I feel like if I didn't, build Blazers Uprise and wasn't so outspoken, that you wouldn't have guys like Chad Doing talking about it so much, and guys like, across social media talking about it so much. So I feel like I've started a little bit of a movement. So I guess you could call me the president of that fan club. And then I got the best sidekick, vice president, whatever Eric is, I don't know, CEO, I don't know. But yeah. Saw a tweet earlier today that Stotts' defensive scheme is to score 150. Yeah, hopefully we don't give up 150 to the Memphis Grizzlies. So let's jump into this breakdown. I think the key, I have a key in my mind. I want to hear, what is your key to the game for the Blazers, Eric?
Basically just try whatever they can to stop Memphis. We know they're not the greatest three-point shooting. I'm going to have to look it up what they did in that game against us. But you want to make guys like Kyle Anderson beat you, not John Morant. If John Morant's getting downhill and scoring 30 points with 10 assists or whatever, we absolutely failed in this game.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought we played him pretty well in the first matchup. I felt like he was rushing a lot of his moves and shots. He's got a little more comfortable, but he's definitely showing some signs of being a rookie in this bubble. So you've got to exploit that and take advantage of him not necessarily being 100% confident like he normally is. And then we have to also contain the bigs because we did a horrible job of rebounding in the second half of the Brooklyn game. And if we rebound like that against guys like Jonas and Brandon Clark and stuff, we can find ourselves losing a game even if we're playing good defense because we're not getting the ball and going the other way with it. So
yep, you got to complete the stop and grab the rebound. We shouldn't really have a problem rebounding. We have Melo at the 3, who's like a good rebounder for a 3. We have Zach at the 4, who his rebounding numbers aren't super impressive, but he boxes out well, and he drew multiple fouls last game just from crashing the offensive boards hard. And then you got Nurkic and Whiteside, who are both good rebounding centers. So that's what's weird is like we're still kind of struggling with rebounding a little bit, so that is definitely a factor. My key for this game tomorrow is the Blazers got to control the pace. Memphis is a team that loves to run, and without Jaren Jackson Jr., I think that hurts them in the half court more than in transition, right? In transition, if John Morant is able to get out into the open court, he can make at a really high level. He's not super comfortable yet in the half court from what I've seen. So I think the key for the Blazers is to control the pace. We don't usually play at a fast pace. Usually we kind of pick our spots. I do actually like that we don't really, I don't know. For the most part, we don't really force bad things in transition. There is one player who does. That's Mario Zonia, who drives me crazy. But we do tend to pick our spots well, when to run, hit ahead passes to Nurk. There was a couple of those in that Brooklyn game that helped us win that game. But we are predominantly a half-court team, and Memphis is a team that likes to run. And when you look back to that first game, we controlled the pace in the first half. It helped us build a lead. They weren't really that comfortable offensively. And then in the third quarter, they went on a huge run because, one, they were forcing turnovers, which helps them get out and run. And then, two, we weren't really playing good transition D. So they ratcheted up the pressure, ratcheted up the pace, and got the pace in their favor, and it helped them make that run in that first game. So I think the key for the Blazers is to consistently be under control, be solid with the basketball, don't turn it over, respond well if they start to pressure defense, just so you don't give Memphis a bunch of opportunities to get out and run. I would say, the power forward, the center, they crash the boards. Right, crash the boards, try and get offensive rebounds. We got Nurkic, Whiteside, solid offensive rebounders, but you can't have, 4 guys crashing the offensive boards. You have to have guys, some guys crashing and some guys getting back, just so you don't end up, selling out too much for the offensive board and then allowing Memphis to get runouts because of that. So I think controlling the pace is really the number one key. If this is a half-court game, I like our chances.
Yeah, for sure. That's a great point. That Memphis, the times we did bad against them last game, we let them just run up and down the court on us. And we saw that a little bit last night with Brooklyn when they tried to push the ball up the court. We weren't picking up balls, stuff like that, led to easy baskets. So we definitely need to control the pace in this one. Our half-court offense is by far better than Memphis. And in a playoff-type atmosphere, that's usually what it goes to is more half court. So if we can't control that and make it a half court game and just completely take them out of their advantage they have, then that's a bad job on us.
Part of that is I think John Morant is actually, and I said this last night, I think John Morant is one of the best players who actually struggles against drop pick and roll scheme, which drop pick and roll scheme is what Stotts loves to run. It's where the big doesn't come up to the screener. The big kind of sags in the paint. And John Morant, he's not comfortable with his mid-range pull-up. He's not that comfortable with a three-point pull-up. He doesn't really shoot three-point shots. He just wants to get downhill and get to the rim. But the problem with John Morant is he's not like a Karis LeVert or Luka Doncic, who if they go downhill at the dropping big, those guys are big enough to be able to shoot over them pretty easily and like shoot around them, and they're crafty and they can use their body and they can get good shots in there. John Morant, with his stature, with how small he is, it's hard for him to get all the way to the rim and get shots off attacking a dropping big downhill. And I think there was a stat that I saw that the pick and roll between him and Jaren Jackson Jr. against drop scheme yielded, I think, 0.94 points per possession, which isn't good. You compare that to Damon Nurkic pick and roll against a drop scheme, which yields 1.52 points per possession. That's a big difference right there. So I like against John Morant. I'm actually okay with running drop scheme. I still would like us to see. I still would like to see us change up looks. You know, he's still a rookie, so if we changed up looks, he's the type of player who might struggle and might turn over the ball against a trap or that type of thing. But he's one of like the highest stature players who kind of struggles against drop pick and roll scheme. So if we're making them play in the half court, which they're already not a half court team, and we're going to run drop pick and roll scheme like we always do, this is a team where that could actually work against. You know, we'll see if they can exploit it. But in the first game, I thought our half court scheme actually worked solidly against them. We just ran into trouble when we let them get out and run.
Yeah, and it's okay to drop the bigs if you're not switching. And that's where we're going to get into problems if we're just flat out switching the picks, and then then Ja can kind of back it out a little bit, and then if you sag off, he can get that head of steam going towards the big. And he's a good passer, and like he's crafty with the ball, so he can get around people, even if they're much bigger. But yeah, I feel like we need to fight through the picks, and even if it's trailing the picks, as long as you are still trying to recover back to your man instead of just automatically switching and then getting a mismatch, like having to box out Brandon Clark on a shot, or kicking out to Jonas, or post it if they post him up when he's got a little guy on him. Like we can't afford to get into those mismatches. Like you said, just let Ja take bad shots. Drop the big a little bit, but don't just completely switch, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, switching has given us trouble the past 3-4 games. We switched less against Brooklyn, which was good, even though Karis LeVert, as I said, loves drop pick and roll scheme. That's why he went off for 37 and 9 in that game. But yeah, you can't have Nurkic trying to guard Ja, because Ja's either like that. That's the thing. If you have a big on Ja, either that big is up close enough where Ja can blow by him and get to the rim and collapse the defense and make plays, or that big has to sag in order to stop that, and that gives Ja enough room to be able to just kind of line up a three. Like, he can line up threes. He's just not the type to, like, come off a screen, go into his right, and, like, pull up quickly. Yet, once he learns how to do that, like, he will be, like, a 20 to 25 point per game scorer, in my opinion, but he doesn't know how to do that yet. So that's the thing. It's like, you can't let him lie. You can't mismatch our center onto Ja and just let him dribble straight into threes and line it up like that. You can drop the big, and, you know, if he starts hitting shots off the dribble where he's going to the right, that's not something he normally does. So if he does that, then maybe we have to adjust then. But yeah, I'm cool with starting the game running drop scheme. You won't hear me complain about it. You might hear me complain if it gets beat a bunch and we don't adjust, because, you know, the playoffs and this play-in will be a game of adjustments. You got to be able to adjust and switch things up. If they're not working, I won't have a problem with us running drop pick and roll scheme off the bat, though. I will have a problem if we're switching everything and switching into mismatches like we've kind of done over the second half of this bubble.
Yeah, completely agree. Even if we are successful dropping, I'm still going to be a little frustrated. I'm not going to completely dismiss it like you, because I want to see us throw different things at them, especially if we're controlling this game. Like, don't just sit back and keep doing the same thing and let them maybe make a comeback because they get comfortable. Like, that's maybe like come out in the third quarter and just like start blitzing him all of a sudden, like a couple possessions, and maybe create a couple turnovers and then get a couple buckets. And all of a sudden, instead of being up like 6 at half, like we've been up in some of these games, we're up 10 instead of, you know, making it a tie game or losing the lead or whatever. And maybe like we could put this game away and not have to worry about it coming down to like a last second shot or something. Mm-hmm. So I still want to see them throw a wrinkle in there every once in a while. And I don't believe they're just like having it holstered and saving it for some magical playoff game or something. So like, I don't know. I'd rather them just win this game and like try out a few things.
And that's the thing. Like, there's no point in saving a pick and roll coverage for the playoffs, right? There's like generally 4 or 5 different pick and roll defenses, and teams have played against all of them, so it's not like it's something that teams haven't seen before, whereas there are set designs that you can come up with that are completely unique that teams haven't seen that you would save for the playoffs. Like, it makes sense, you know, maybe not using a set that you have in your back pocket because you want to save it to the playoffs. But in terms of, pick and roll defense, it doesn't really make sense to do that. You can get more creative with defenses, just overall schemes and weird matchup zones. And, you look at Toronto and they'll throw out weird presses and that type of stuff. The thing is, I'm not even asking that, and I know that won't happen for the Blazers, right. I just want them to switch up their pick and roll scheme a little bit. And the thing is, I am feeling confident against the Grizzlies, one, because they don't have Jaren Jackson Jr., who killed us in that first game, but then two, John Morant struggles against the only scheme we run. Once we get beyond that, if we want to beat the Lakers, we will need to switch things up, but that's a different conversation for a different time if we can take care of business here. So, John Morant is the guy who makes everything go, especially without Jaren Jackson Jr. He's going to have good games against us in order for them to play their way in. He's going to have 20 to 30 point games with 10 assists or somewhere in that range in order for them to play their way in.
I think he was 1 for 7 or something like that from 3 the last time we played. Mm-hmm. He's got to hit a few threes. And if he starts hitting threes in this game and making us pay for dropping the big and not getting through picks, we could be in trouble. But in all honesty, Memphis does not have enough firepower to beat us, especially not 2 games in a row. Mm-hmm. There should be no excuse for losing these games. And I don't want to hear about personnel. We have better personnel than
You want me to read off their starting lineup right now? Memphis' starting lineup right now is John Morant, Dylan Brooks, Kyle Anderson, Anthony Tolliver, and Jonas Valanciunas, right? I don't want to hear about personnel because here's the thing. People all season long were like, oh, well, Stotts is having to play Tolliver 10 minutes off the bench, so personnel, you can't do anything with Anthony Tolliver in the game. Well, Anthony Tolliver is a starter for the Memphis Grizzlies right now. He is starting for them. He played 20 minutes last game in what was a must-win game. So he's now in their starting lineup. You got a guy in Kyle Anderson who he did shoot 2 for 4 from 3 last game, but I think for the season, let me pull up his stats here. For the season, he is a 28% three-point shooter. Okay. There's the good old ESPN ad. Shut it off pretty quickly that time. But he's a 28% three-point shooter, and that's their forwards. You got Kyle Anderson, just a non-factor from 3, and just not a good offensive player whatsoever. And you got Anthony Tolliver.
Of course, Ben thinks Anderson's a decent player.
I mean, he's a good defender, and he can, make plays a little bit, but he offensively, he's not a good player. And then you have Anthony Tolliver, who, can hit a couple threes, but, we saw Anthony Tolliver to start this season. He shouldn't be a factor. He should not be a factor offensively. So that's the thing. It's offensive firepower in their starting lineup, they don't really have anything whatsoever.
You have Kyle Anderson's a decent defender, right? Mm-hmm. Everyone else you mentioned, Valanciunas is probably a decent post defender, but he's not a good trapping perimeter type defender. Mm-hmm. So there is no way we should struggle to score in these games. It should not take Dame scoring 50 points to win this game. Yeah, we should have just the easiest time ever scoring in this game. And if we don't, there's something wrong because they don't have a way to trap Dame or take him out of this game. So he's going to be able to easily set up others in this game. And we have mismatches pretty much all across the board on offense. There's no reason we shouldn't be dominating this game. And I'm already hearing the excuses if we lose this game. And it's we better not hear these excuses because we need to win this game. I've said it multiple times. We do not want to have to risk our season on the line on Sunday in a game where, who knows what's going to happen. Yep. We almost risked our season against the Brooklyn Nets. It came down to the very last second. We almost didn't even have a stream tonight because our season was over, right? Yeah. We can't mess around anymore. We have to start taking advantage and playing better. And other than Dame, of course. Yeah. But
offensive, and this is just on the defensive end for the most part. We do got to rebound better too, better than we did in the second half against the Nets. But offensively, we've been fine. We've scored 134 the last couple games. Part of that is having Damian Lillard go off, but against the Mavericks, we had Melo step up. Against the Nets, CJ had a good first half. Nurkic was 11 for 17 with 22 points. Gary Trent Jr. had 16 off the bench. So, like, I'm not worried about our offense whatsoever. This team can't guard us. Like, I think I expect us to score at least 120 points. I would be shocked if we scored less than 120 points, unless we were up 40 and held them to 70. You know what I mean? Like, there's no reason we should score less than 120. So it basically comes down to, can we hold the Memphis Grizzlies to less than 120? And honestly, it's like, in my opinion, we have good enough personnel where if we, adjust, if they get rolling, and if we play defense well, like, we should be able to hold them less than 120 points. That's not asking much, especially against a team that struggled in Memphis. They're without maybe their best player in Jaren Jackson Jr. Their starting forwards are Kyle Anderson and Anthony Tolliver. They're playing Grayson Allen is like their sixth man. They got Brandon Clark too. That's kind of the top two guys off the bench. Yeah. Tyus Jones is out. D'Anthony Melton isn't a great offensive player. They got Gorgie Jang off the bench too. Like, this team doesn't have good offensive firepower. The one guy that could really keep them in the game though, and this is like my X factor for them, that's Dylan Brooks. He's struggled over the bubble, but when he shoots well and when he gets hot, he can carry that offense. They're going to need him to do that just because they don't really have a whole lot of firepower. So that is like the one guy I'm kind of worried about, because he showed against the Bucks, like, he can get hot. He had 31 points in 33 minutes, 12 for 18 from the field, 4 for 7 from the three-point line. Like, Ducks fans know he can score.
Did you know going into that game, his offensive rating in the bubble is like 50-something?
Was it?
Yeah, it was brutal. It was like so bad. It was the worst out of any player in the league.
Yeah.
And also, I've been reading a lot about how analytically he was one of the worst, if not the worst, starting player in the league this year. Yeah. And that's saying a lot, because he had some good games. He signed that extension this year. Like, he's really streaky. He can get hot. But yeah, it's for those saying he's a good player, he's like, if you look around the league, like, if you just look at box scores and he's okay, but like if you look at people who actually break down his game and stuff, they all believe he like cost Memphis a lot of games versus how much he helps them. But,
yeah, I mean, like, the thing is, in January he had a stretch where he had 9 out of 11 games he had at least 20 points. Right? So, like, he got hot for a stretch, and I think he got his extension right after that. But you look at him in the bubble. I'm just going to read off what he shot from the field in the three-point line. Starting with the first game. Against Portland, 6 for 16 from the field, 2 for 9 from 3. Next game, 7 for 20 from the field, 1 for 7 from 3. The next game, 5 for 13 from the field, 2 for 7 from 3. Next game, 7 for 17, 1 for 5. The game after that, he finally shot over 42%. He actually went 10 for 18 and 2 for 4 from 3. And surprisingly enough, that was the first game they won in the bubble. That was when they blew out OKC by 29. The game after that, he did have 25 points, but he shot 11 for 26 against Toronto, 3 for 10 from the three-point line. The game after that, 5 for 15, 0 for 4 from the three-point line, right? But then he capped it off last game of the bubble against Milwaukee. He shot 12 for 18 from the field, 4 for 7 from 3, had 31 points, and that was the second game they won. So I think there is a correlation there. Like, they need him to have a good offensive game because they don't have enough offensive firepower. Given the way our perimeter defense is, like, we're the type of team he could go off against. You know, he struggled against us in the first game, but I remember him having pretty decent looks in that first game against us. So, like, that is the one guy that can get hot and keep them in this game offensively, I believe. Like, John Morant, too. But, like, John Morant is not good enough to do it by himself. He's not Damian Lillard. And they do have Jonas Valanciunas, who had a triple-double. A 20... I don't remember. Let me go to this box score. He had, like, a 26-point triple-double against the Bucks. But, like, Valanciunas and John Morant is not going to keep up with Damian Lillard, CJ McCollum, Carmelo Anthony, Yusuf Nurkic, Gary Trent Jr. Like, they don't have that type of firepower, even if our defense is bad. But that's the thing. It's like, they need Dylan Brooks. They need him. That is the X factor for them.
This comes back to the problem with our defense. We let guys get too easy shots and get going, and then even if we do clamp up the defense, they're so comfortable shooting that, like, Tyler Johnson in the second half of that game was making amazing shots, like step back 15 footers with a guy in his face and stuff like that. And that's not because like we played bad defense in those situations necessarily. It's because in the first half he got like wide open shots and was like feeling it, and he gets in the zone and he thinks he can make everything then. And Dylan Brooks is the ultimate one of these players. I mean, you just read off his stats. Like he can have like 31 points last game on 18 shots, or he can have like 25 points on 26 shots, which is horrendously bad. But like you don't want to get those guys going, because like if he gets hot, like that's the kind of guy who will shoot every time down the court. And if he's feeling it and gets streaky, yeah, he can absolutely either shoot them out of the game or shoot them into a game. And yeah, I just don't have the confidence that our defense is set up to prevent that from happening. Yep. So we got to kind of get lucky that he's just off tomorrow night, and that's a scary feeling going into a game like this.
Mm-hmm. I mean, that's the thing with Dylan Brooks. I don't expect him to play good 2 games in a row.
Right.
Who knows how long ago it was the last time we played 2 good games in a row. But I don't want this to go to Sunday. I don't want, we're struggling. Well, at least we have Sunday. I don't want that to be the mindset. We need to take care of business Saturday for multiple reasons. 1, the Blazers need the rest. 2, it gives them an extra day to game plan for the Lakers. 3, you don't risk, some sort of injury. The injury risk is lower if you only have to play 1 game instead of 2. 4, I would like a day off. So that's the thing. I'm hoping they win Saturday, so like I could take just a day off on Sunday. Honestly, I'll probably just work in that time span. But I mean, we've been streaming every day for two weeks. And if we win, if we get into the playoffs, we're probably going to be streaming almost every day for another 2, 3, 4 weeks. Who knows how long this run goes? You know what I mean? So I mean, I would like to just take a day off, refresh a little bit. I enjoy streaming this much.
And get ready for a long playoff run.
I would love to have a day off, maybe put out a playoff preview video or something, and we can obviously preview it on stream. Just maybe plan a video out or something like that. That'd be cool. There's so many reasons why the Blazers, A, need to take care of business Saturday, and B, they should. Like, there's no reason they shouldn't be able to take care of business Saturday. They are the better team. They are far more offensively gifted. They have the best player. They have the best player by far in this playing series. That's Damian Lillard, by far. John Morant doesn't compare to him. That's the thing. We match up well with them, too. Like I said, the drop scheme against John Morant, that's one of the highest caliber players that actually kind of struggles playing against that scheme. Thank God we're not playing the Phoenix Suns, because Devin Booker would have eaten it alive. But yeah, that's the thing. It's like, there's so many reasons why we should be able to take care of business here. I am more confident in us winning this game than I was in us winning the Nets game. And in us winning any game this bubble, really. Like, I am confident going into tomorrow. Given how bad our defense has been, I could see Grayson Allen getting hot and Dylan Brooks getting hot, and there's just no reason that should happen.
So I've seen a lot of people talking about Stotts not playing Little. Little has already been ruled out for tomorrow with, once again, dehydration. Now,
it's dehydration recovery now.
I don't understand. Okay, even if he's dehydrated or like recovering from it, how do they know already that he's not going to feel fine tomorrow? Like, I don't get how you get dehydrated that bad where they already know he's not going to be recovered by tomorrow. Like, it just doesn't make sense.
Something must have happened.
Yeah.
Like, there's no way that's like what it actually is. Like, he must have, you know what I think? I think he got sick. I think he got the flu or something, and like it wasn't COVID. They tested, it wasn't COVID, but they might not want to say, "Oh, he's sick with an illness," and then have a bunch of people say, "Oh, COVID." They're keeping it under wraps. You know what I mean? So I honestly think that's what it is.
That's quite possible. It just sounds like a cold or something.
Mm-hmm. Like he got sick, and they don't want to.
And they can't have him like go to the game coughing or so. Yeah, like yeah. That might be it. That's a good.
Because was he on the bench last game?
No, I don't think he was. Okay. I think he was.
So that is my hypothesis.
It was hilarious on Twitter. There were so many people like spamming him, asking if they needed him to them to drive to Florida and bring him water. It was just like hundreds of people asking him, "Are you okay?
With the flu,
you need me to bring you some water?"
That's funny. I saw something like, "Oh man, I'll fly across the Atlantic Ocean." Some guy, "You're about to fly across the Atlantic Ocean to bring him some water."
if it is dehydration, I just don't get how we don't have like a nutrition plan or some sort of way to get, like we saw, like they can get what, like five tons of ice for a freaking ice bath, but they can't get like gnaw some water to like stay hydrated. Like I don't understand that at all.
Oh man, yeah, that's what I'm saying. There's no way that's what the reason is. I think he 100% sick. That's my best guess, and I actually feel pretty confident that's probably the case because you wouldn't want to like make up like a physical injury if it's a cover for him being sick. So like, what's the easiest thing if like you don't want to say he has the flu? Oh, he's dehydrated.
Just seems so weak though. Like I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it's not serious. Like
Well,
if he, like obviously if you're
what would
dehydrated and having like issues with that, it's a serious thing. I just don't get how an NBA player in that situation. I mean, it's not like he could go out like partying or something. And if he did, they would have like it would have shown up on a report or whatever.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I mean, what injury? What would you make as the cover for the injury report if you don't want to say he had the flu?
that's pretty good. Earlier in the season we had that outbreak of back spasms. That's always a good
Oh
one.
yeah, back spasms.
That's the one injury like you can't prove really.
Yeah.
So like that's always a good one to just be like,
True.
oh, back spasms, because you like even if you have an X-ray, it's not going to show up or whatever. So, so I'd probably say that or just yeah. I didn't think of that though. That's a great theory by you, is that he just got the flu. Because I've dealt with that a little bit. Some people I know being sick, but got tested several times and didn't have COVID, and then they were fine a few days later, and it was just like a cold or whatever, and it's like, yeah,
Yeah. So
back spasms are contagious, Trevin. How do so many people get them all at the same time if they're
I
not?
know. Yeah, it was just there's like three different guys. I forget who it even was. I think
It was
Nas had it at one point.
Hazonia, Little, and
Yeah.
was it Hood? Yeah, I think it was Hood before he got.
Was that early? Yeah, I think it was. Yeah, so I mean, maybe that's what they would have gone with. That probably would have. Honestly, I'm less confident that he has the flu now because it's like that is like saying he's dehydrated is going to raise more questions than back spasms, and I
Right.
don't know. I think they have, it's kind of weird how three guys in a row got back spasms.
Yeah, I think they're saying chat saying Dame had it too at one point, and then Hassan had a little bit of it. Yeah,
Yeah, like there's no way. I've never seen that before, so there's no way that wasn't a cover for something. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they are contagious. I don't know. If you have a little bit of back spasms and you play against somebody and you bump them, it like gives them the back spasms too or something. I don't know. But yeah, flu's my best guess. I don't know. That is interesting. I wish Nas would just say like, I actually am dehydrated. Well, here's what happened.
yeah.
Where's our Blazer reporting to figure that out though?
Yeah, but someone said that's just an excuse for Stotts not to be able to play him. That's funny. Or like he can use that as an excuse. Well, I didn't have Little. What am I supposed to do on defense? Like he would have played him anyway. And Emerson makes a good point that Dame has an incredible back end. He's been shouldering the load of this entire franchise on his back. So hopefully he doesn't get spasms. He should stay away from Nas if they're contagious.
Yep. So what else are we missing from this preview, from this breakdown?
So Ben, I just want to make fun of Ben for a little bit because he was
That's where
he was gone for a couple weeks, but he didn't even know Jaren Jackson was out. Yeah, but he got injured in like the second or third game and is out for the season.
Yeah.
In case you missed it, Ben.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's why Anthony Tolliver started.
Yeah. So I went back and looked at the third quarters. So other than Boston, we did win the third quarter against Houston, 25-24. But yeah, we lost every other third quarter in the bubble.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think was it Saturdays? the Clipper game, I think, was the only other like super early game we had, right?
Yes. Only one before like 12:30
Other
or something like
other
that.
than like the scrimmages, I think we had some early ones. But
Yeah.
so yeah, I hope we don't like wake up asleep like we did in that game.
11:30, man. I don't understand that time. I don't understand why it's so early. Bro, like the game will be
It's
starting in 13 hours.
Yeah, it's 2:30 their time, but
Yeah.
like I think they just wanted like just a little more than 24 hours in between the two games. Because I think they felt bad having it back to back already. So, um,
Still. Still, I don't know. Yeah.
yeah,
But like what if I guess that's why they didn't have any of the teams eligible for the play and play today. Because I was thinking,
yeah.
like, wait, what if one of the teams playing today was in the play in? And then they played 3 days in a row? But all the
That,
teams that played today, I don't think were eligible for the play in.
I would say that's smart, but like it's something they probably should have scheduled that way. But
Yeah.
like whoever was smart enough to figure that out, that wait, any team that has a chance at playing 8 or 9 should not play today, was a good move by them.
There is a schedule for the first round already. So we do know, like, if we make the playoffs, when we'd play. Let me check the. Yeah, it'd start on Tuesday.
I think it's 6.
And it'd be every other day, the whole
Yep.
series. So the 18th, 20th, 22nd, 24th, 26th, 20th, 30th. The game one's at 6 p.m., game two's at 6 p.m., game three's at 5:30 p.m., game four is at 6 p.m.
Yep. We're playing the Lakers, so
So
they're
it's
all
just
going to
prime
be
time.
the late prime time game.
We aren't
Yeah.
playing the Lakers yet. You better knock on wood.
Uh, particle board.
Particle board. Oh, that's you just super jinxed it. Damn. Dylan Brooks gonna go off for 60. Anthony Tolliver gonna hit 23s a game. But I don't know. That kind of sucks. I like the. I don't know. Because for me with my job, I make the most money between like 5 and 9. So the games are at 6. So I'm missing out on like 3 of those 4 hours. So that kind of sucks.
So the Blazers need to win and beat the Lakers just to make up for it, right? Because then it would all
they
be
need to
worth
sweep
it.
the Lakers, so then I, have a whole chunk of time where I can, work. Because I am working right now. Like between the time I wake up and about 1, 2 in the morning, I'm either watching a Blazer game, streaming, or working. It's crazy. So
Yeah, try doing that, and then throwing a family. Like,
oh my goodness, yeah, I couldn't imagine.
it's-
I know it's pretty
it's
much
tough.
the same way for you, but at least after the stream, like you get to stay home. I'm like working right after I get off the stream, so yeah.
Well, I have to wake up at 6 to go to work,
Oh
but
yeah, that's crazy. That's crazy, man. We're grinding, guys. We're grinding. I hope you guys appreciate the grind. But yeah, so I mean, I don't know. Like, if we make the first round, I think we'd probably stream on here between each game and maybe like take 1 or 2 like days in between games off over that 2-week span. So kind of like what we've been doing, because most of the games have been every other day. Most of the time, if things were normal, they would spread things out. But since they're not normal, it's more condensed. But that just means you'll have more playoff action each day. You'll have more playoff action each day. So I don't know if we'll do picks against what we'll do. I think, I don't know, restart picks against the spread since Eric doesn't want me to have a lead. And we didn't play anything on the line for this regular season. But I don't know. I'll figure something out for picks against the spread. I will want to like talk in depth about each series. So honestly, probably what I'll do is we'll have Blazers Up Reds live here, but like instead of doing picks against the spread where it's like bang bang bang, we will like break down each series, and as the series go on, we'll like recap the last game and talk about the next game and go in that, and then at the end of like the segment talking about that one game, then we do the picks for that game against the spread. So
yeah.
that's
Sounds
kind of
good.
what I was thinking. So, I might try and upgrade the graphics and just do something special for playoffs. I'm not entirely sure, because I do want to upgrade this overlay and just make it a little different and just a little special for playoffs, just a fresh feel. I like to keep things fresh with the graphics and that type of thing. So, anyway,
Something with the playoff vibe.
Yep. That is the plan. So I will take questions on.
Alex is asking, is it possible that the players are telling Stotts they do not want to make defensive adjustments? If they are, and Stotts is saying, "Oh, okay, yeah, we won't make adjustments," that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my life. Like, no offense to the question, but like your job isn't to say like, "Oh, just keep playing crappy defense, guys. Yeah, if you want to keep playing this crappy defense, go right ahead. I'm not gonna stop you." Like that would be
Yeah.
That would be
your job is to coach your players, not have your players coach you.
Why even have a coach in that situation? You're better off just like you said last stream, like just letting Dame be the player coach or whatever. Yeah. So that absolutely better not be happening. I mean, I could see Stotts possibly being like that if Dame was like, "Hey, let's keep it this way. Let's not switch it up." And he's like, "Okay, I love you, Dame.
But,
you save me." So,
but here's the thing, though. Dame has said himself in the past week that he doesn't understand why teams run drop pick and roll coverage. So that's the thing. Everybody's saying, "Oh, well, Dame loves Stotts. He doesn't think Stotts is doing a bad job." It's like, well, of course he's going to support Stotts. He's A, player's coach, but then B, Dame's loyal, and he's not going to like throw Stotts under the bus ever publicly. The what's telling to me is that he basically said he doesn't understand why Stotts runs the defensive scheme he runs. Because Dame said on JJ Redick's podcast, he doesn't understand why teams run drop coverage, and Terry Stotts' team runs drop coverage. So that's him saying he doesn't understand why we run our pick and roll scheme. So I don't think it's Dame saying, "Oh, we should run drop scheme all the time and we shouldn't switch it up." You know, because then why would he go on JJ Redick's podcast and say he doesn't understand why teams run it? You know, I mean, Rick Carlisle and the Mavericks, that's pretty much all they did against Dame, and Dame had 61 against it. So Dame proved that. He said in that interview, every time a team is running drop coverage, I'm pulling up for three off the screen. Every time. Because I know it will be open. And I mean, like, that's kind of what we see against other teams when we run that scheme. So, I don't know. It was kind of interesting to hear that from Dame. I do wonder what he thinks about our pick and roll schemes, to be honest.
Yeah, I just don't see him like he'd be, because Dame has actually shown in these games that he's stepping up and saying, "Hey, I want to take Tatum. I want to take whoever, Paul George, or like." So you're seeing him like actually want to take those defensive assignments, and so like I don't see him not wanting that to be fixed. I think he's trying to do everything in his power to change it without the coach actually changing the scheme of the whole team. There's not much like one person can do, so it's frustrating.
Yeah. Shervin says our players mess with Stotts. I was watching Gary Trent on the Sheet Bonzi Wells podcast, and he was speaking highly of Stotts and saying Stotts is a player's coach. Yeah, I mean, he is a player's coach. That's the thing. That's why you can't like listen to the players and get a good feel for the head coach, because like Giannis loved Jason Kidd. He was very upset when Jason Kidd got fired, right? Dame loved Mason Plumlee. He was really upset when Mason Plumlee got traded. That was obviously the right move, but Dame didn't like it at the time because Dame is loyal to his guys, and like players love players coaches. Players love players coaches, right? It doesn't matter how good like the X's and O's are and that type of thing is. Like most players will love a player's coach at any level of basketball, right? And I think that's just what you see with Stotts. Like he's a player's coach, so the players love him. That's why you can't say, "Oh, well, since Dame likes him, he's a great coach," because there are X's and O's things that matter. And here's the thing: everybody that defends Stotts can never really like talk about an X and O thing or a scheme thing that they really like that he does. It's always, "Oh, he's gone far with this team. Yeah, this team isn't that good, and he's gone far with them," which is basically saying, "Oh, well, you can look at the box score and say, oh, that lineup isn't good, but oh, look at this box score. They beat Denver in Game 7. That must mean the coach is good." Like, it's looking at a box score like that. It's just basing it off a piece of paper. This roster isn't that good on paper, so Stotts is a good coach. Or it's stuff like, well, the players like him and Dame likes him. He's a likable guy. He's a player's coach. That's like the main two defenses I hear. Or, oh, he doesn't have the right roster. It's just stuff like that, surface level stuff. Like, let's talk about what's going on within the game. The X's and O's, the schemes, that type of thing. And everybody that defends him doesn't really go into that, ever. And that's basically the point I was making on Twitter. A guy got carried away today. I don't know if you guys saw it. I was in some beef with some people, and it just got got super carried away. But my whole thing is like, you can defend Stotts and you can like Stotts. I'm completely fine. What I have a problem with is people acting like I'm insane or Eric's insane for not being a Stotts fan. And their whole point is stuff that isn't even things that happen within the game. Like, if you're going to come at us and say, we're wrong about Terry Stotts, you better break it down based on things that happen within the lines, on the court, the X's and O's, the schemes he's running, the adjustments he's making, the, player technique, getting through a pick and roll. Like, players don't get through pick and rolls well. His players have never gotten through pick and rolls well. Like, just stuff like that. The rotations. Why is he playing Mario Hezonja? Why is he subbing Mario Hezonja in before Gary Trent Jr.? That type of thing. And it's never that conversation.
So I watched the TNT. Someone shared the video of TNT breaking down the game afterwards last night. And while they're going through the highlights, they're like, why is it Portland double teaming right here? LeVert's going off, and like they showed like several highlights of him in a row. Like, where's the double team? Where's the double team? And like, these are guys who play the game. They know what they're talking about. Like,
you've heard Stan Van Gundy, who's a former NBA head coach, like, question Stotts throughout this whole entire time. And apparently the TNT broadcast last night was questioning Stotts not adjusting his defense. So
yeah, so I responded to one of Trevin's tweets, and I put it this way. When the players aren't good enough, people say they need the players that weren't good back when that Stotts elevated.
Yeah.
And what that means is they're saying, like, oh, we don't have Harkless and Aminu, but you're also giving Stotts credit for elevating Stotts and Aminu last year. So what is it? Are they good players that Stotts won with because he had good players, or are we missing? Does Stotts not do good this year because we're missing them because they're good players? Like, it doesn't. I don't know. Just like, people's arguments don't make sense, and they're starting to contradict themselves with their silly surface level takes. And like, we had some guy who told us last night that he's a coach and he knows what he's talking about. And then all his takes were like surface level. Well, like, if you don't know what coach is doing, then you're insane. And like, okay, so what is he doing? Well, he got to the Western Conference Finals last year. Blah blah blah. It's like,
okay, how did he do it? How was he responsible for them getting there then?
Yeah, like, if you can't watch these games and see that Damian Lillard is carrying this whole like system, like, and making up for everything that's wrong, like, I don't understand how people aren't seeing that, and I'm glad a lot of people are starting to see it.
See, here's the point I'll make, right? Jake Carey is somebody who likes Stotts, but every time we have a conversation with him, he actually brings up stuff that happens within the game. So I respect his opinion. I 100% respect his opinion. We see things that happen within the game a little bit different, but every time he tells us, like, disagrees with us on our opinions of Terry Stotts, he brings stuff that happens within the game up. We might disagree with it, but like, I can respect that. Like, okay, let's talk about stuff that happens within the game. I get super tired of just the surface level stuff that's not based on what's happening between the lines. It's like, oh, well, look, they won this game, or they didn't have this guy, so injuries, or they didn't have this personnel, or blah, blah, blah. Like, you can expand on that point to talk about, oh, well, the personnel is hurting the team because here's what's happening within the game, but it never goes that deep. It's just a bunch of surface level stuff. And it's like, people can make those points. It's fine. It's when people make those points and then act like we're crazy when we're sitting here like trying to break down things that happen within the game, between the lines. So it's like, okay, let's either have an in-depth basketball conversation or don't come at me. Don't disagree with me then if you're not ready to actually back it up with points that are based on what happens on the hardwood. That's my whole entire mindset towards it.
I also love, like, when you be like, well, why doesn't he switch up the defense? And they're like, yeah, that's a good point, but he's still great, dude. Like, I don't know what you're talking about. Like, it's like, okay.
Yeah.
Like,
well, the thing that drives me crazy
dude.
is like, well, he just needs a good defensive assistant. So it's like, okay, if Stotts ever struggles at anything, it's like, oh, well, he just needs an assistant to cover him. Stotts is fine. He just needs an assistant to take care of that. It's like, bro, like, Stotts could be the worst coach in the league, and it would be like, oh, well, he just needs good assistants to run the offense and help guys rebound and to teach guys defense and to do this. and then they'll also say, well, every championship team has good assistants. It's like, okay, well, where does it begin with the head coach then? You know what I mean? Like, where does it begin with the head coach? Like, if the assistants are so important, why do we even have a head coach then? Why don't we just coach by committee? If it's like, oh, it's up to the assistants to do all this different stuff to cover for Stotts. So that's the whole thing. It's like, yes, a defensive guy would help, but it's obvious Stotts isn't going to bring a guy like that in. It's not going to happen.
And we know, I heard it straight from Stott's mouth a couple years ago, that his assistants begged him to change his defensive philosophies. And he said he considered it all offseason and then decided against it heading into the season. So he overrode the people who were telling him these things we're trying to tell or say are wrong. Mm-hmm. And that was 2 seasons ago. And it's still crap. And it hasn't gotten better since.
Yeah.
And if he's not going to listen to his assistants that are on the team right now, there's no way he's going to let an assistant come in and give up control completely of that whole side of the ball. He's too stubborn. He's too rigid and thinking that it'll eventually work once he has the personnel. And that's my problem. Like, he acts like he's one of these casual fans who just think it's going to get better when he has better players, and it's not his fault and there's nothing he can do about it. And you can't teach guys a scheme like in the middle of the season. You can't make them change their coverage because they need a whole training camp to learn how to do it. Even though, like, you know, Brooklyn just randomly started like double teaming us beyond half court. I'm sure they didn't practice that all year, you know, like it's just so dumb. Or like, why can we then have a game plan against Houston? I mean, this is all stuff we brought up before, but like we do game plan for Houston and we don't like practice it that much. So like, why is that different than any other team? It just drives me crazy. Mm-hmm. Like, that guy told us, like, well, you can't just like scheme for defense in the middle of the season. It's like, yes, you can. God, it's so dumb. Like,
yeah.
And even if you couldn't, why keep doing? Like, why not even just like, even if you change it and it's bad and it's completely horrendous and it can't be much worse than it is right now. I mean, we're giving up about as many points as we can give up in an NBA game without like actually just not trying at all. But like, I just don't understand.
Yeah, I mean, didn't even really plan to go in deep on Stotts, but I know you guys, like us explaining this and going in on it. You know, it's definitely a huge debate. So I got a tweet earlier from his name is Luxury Tex. I'm not going to read his handle, but he said, Tori Jones, YT, and Hoopshocks don't get enough credit for starting a whole wave. They were criticizing Stotts back when it was taboo for Blazer fans because he had overachieved every year. They slowly opened everyone's eyes, and slowly Blazer fans started to realize how bad Stotts is. And, I mean, I don't know. I think Stotts has regressed a little bit. I think that's part of it, too. But I would definitely just try and, like, provide a different perspective. And not even, like, to provide a different perspective. We're just honest, you know. And we try and go deep within the game to break things down. And that's what I feel like media doesn't really do. So, that's the thing, is people just got obliterated if they ever were critical for Terry Stotts. And, I mean, you see it with a lot of people that just will try and obliterate us, you know? But it's like, we're the shield. We are the shield now. We'll take all the heat. We'll be the most outspoken about it. It's just like, you know, and it's not even like, it's just an opinion. It's just an opinion. Like, I don't know. It's what we see, you know, and it shouldn't be somewhere like, okay, well, this fan base is going to bully everyone into conforming to one opinion. Like, that's just kind of a toxic thing. So a lot of people would say, oh, we're the people who are toxic. We're too outspoken, and we argue with people, and we fire back when people fire at us. You know, we're the ones causing the problem, since without us, nobody would be arguing about this. But this fan base for a while has kind of just bullied people into conforming with, like, just one thought in regards to the coaching. Like, I used to just, like, I don't know, like, it's been hard to, like, be the guy who doesn't think Stotts is an amazing head coach. It's been hard in the past, you know, and now it's easier with this platform. But it's just like, shoot, it's not even to really like start a wave. It's just like, I want to talk basketball. That's why I have this channel. I want to talk about basketball, and I want to break things down. What is happening within the game? What are we struggling with? What are we doing well? And the thing is, like, the narrative and the conversation has too long just been a bunch of surface level stuff in regards to the coaching. It's like, I want to break it down further than that. And I want more people to break it down further than that. And I want to educate people where we can talk about different schemes and nerd out about basketball because I'm a basketball nerd. So that is my whole thing with this whole platform. And I know it gets annoying for some people, you know, how much we talk about the coach. But we're here to break down X's and O's in basketball and talk about things in depth. So that's what you get here. So that is just my whole entire mindset on it. I don't even know why I'm really rambling about it, but Eric just went on a podcast, and I'm interested to hear it back. Let's talk about that.
So yeah, I got well, actually, he messaged both of us and asked if one of us wanted to come on. It was the Blazer Tag podcast last night after the big victory, and honestly, I was like so exhausted because we had streamed for like 6 hours between the watch party and the thing. So like, but I was like, all right, I'll do it. But yeah, he introduced me as one of the two like founding members of the charge against Terry Stotts or whatever, that I hate Terry Stotts Club or whatever. So yeah, we definitely have that reputation. We've had it since the beginning of the season, pretty much. But even though those that know us, like we've only been doing Blazer Uprise since the beginning of the off season, but like we've been breaking this stuff down for years on the forum and stuff like that. So, but yeah,
I just want us to get known as the guy. I just want us to one day just be known as the guys who will go further in depth on basketball than anybody else, than any other platform, to provide like the most like in-depth analysis, hard-hitting analysis. It's going to be hard to outgrow the they're just Stotts haters label, because that's what's been given to us by people with big platforms. So it's definitely going to be hard to like kind of get past that, but that's kind of like where like the website comes in and just growing the platform that way. To just try and, that's why I want Nate Mann to write for us, because he's one of the true writers who like truly breaks stuff down and that type of thing, and he's actually critical of Stotts. He just does it in a way where it's not quite as bashful as we are, but that's also kind of my personality. I'm not scared to say things. I'm not scared to speak my mind. If you fire at me, I'm not scared to fire back. The thing is, everybody loves it when Dame does it because it's Damian Lillard, he's on our side. But when it comes to us, right, because it doesn't conform with their opinions, people hate it. It makes sense, but it's just kind of funny to look at it that way.
Yeah, so people keep asking about Gary Trent. We talked about how we're going to get to address off-season issues in the off-season, but Gary Trent is under contract next year. We don't have to throw a bag at him this year.
Yep.
He'll be a restricted free agent the year after. We have him super cheap next year. No matter what we do, we can't change that. It's not like we can scrap that contract because it's a guaranteed contract, and he's getting paid next year. And it's like 1.6 million or something like that. It's not even, it's nothing. We can offer him an extension for future years this summer. I just don't know how much of that stuff's going to occur with such a short offseason. And I'm sure we'll offer him a reasonable contract. I don't know if he's going to be willing to take it or hope that he improves like everyone did in 2015. And then we have to overpay them in 2016. But yeah, it's not gonna. I'd be surprised if we signed him this summer, because there's no reason to have to do it. We have control of him for a while still if we want to.
Let me just respond to you. If you want to go in depth, you need more film analysis. I wish we could. We could do it on the second channel and stuff, but also it's like putting together film analysis and stuff takes a lot of time. So, it's just tough because I'm just constantly busy with other stuff. So, if this was a full-time job, I definitely would try and throw more of that stuff together. And next season, I want to try and do some stuff with Twitter where we can easily, go over film as the game goes on and post it to Twitter and that type of thing. So, we do have a plan for that. But, yeah. Here's the thing with this. Or do you want to respond to something?
I was just going to send you something on Twitter. Real quick.
All right, yeah, send it to me. Here's the thing with this stream, there's only so much you can go into depth with the Memphis Grizzlies and us, and there's really not much else to talk about basketball-wise because we're going to save the playoff stuff and that type of thing. And we've talked in depth about different players all the time lately on post-game streams and that type of stuff, so there's really not a whole lot to go over. So, I assume we'd start talking about the coaching, but...
If, So I did record one play from the last game. If you want to show it, that's what I'm sending to you. But do you want to? I want to kind of show how I think we should attack when Dame gets doubled like he did, just in case we see that in the game tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to bust out the clipboard for a minute or something.
Did
I
you
don't know
send
if you
me
want to
something
go
on Twitter?
It might still be sending.
Yeah, it must be because I don't see it yet.
The videos take a minute.
I'll pull out the clipboard.
Beavis and Butthead, it's not
All right, I
easy to
got
do.
it. Here we go. Problem is display capture. It took so long to like set this up on the screen last time.
Oh, yeah.
No, I got it. There we go. There we go. Hide my super secretive DMs. There we go.
Somebody screen capture.
There's literally nothing in there.
All right, so this is in the first half, and this is a play where we actually did double team off a pick and roll, and we played it really well until we stopped the penetration on the pick and roll, and then we got kind of lost. But I just want to show you how it can be effective to double team a pick and roll. So Levert's got the ball. We got Jared Allen picking. We double team him right away. So we have three guys guarding four Brooklyn players, and they're actually in really good position right here.
Yep.
We take the ball out of Levert's hands. This is like one of the only times in the entire game where we don't let Levert like drive right into the key and get a good shot. So we actually make the right play here, and this is what I'm talking about. We could have done this more in the second half, but we didn't for some reason, and I don't understand why we go away from it so quickly. So he makes the pass. It's a good pass to Allen, and Allen makes a great kick out, and Carmelo has to recover there. If Nurk just would have went straight from Levert to the corner, that would have been covered, and we would have been in perfect position. We would have fully recovered, and they wouldn't have gotten a good shot, and we probably would have gotten close to a shot clock violation or a bad shot or whatever. So they end up getting an open three and hitting it, but it's because we've had too many people in the middle of the key. We had three people guarding Allen instead of one of them going out to the shooter.
Well, here's what's supposed to happen in this scenario. Dame's helping over. Carmelo gets first pass, right? We've gone over this multiple times on this channel. Carmelo gets first pass, right? So, like, if Jared Allen kicked it there, Carmelo would get there, right? Nurkic is rotating back to Allen, who just caught the ball, right? Once Allen passes it and Nurkic is rotating back, Nurkic bumps Lillard, okay? Yep. So here's what happens, right? Right when he passes the ball, he passes it there. Dame should know there's two guys here, right? Dame should look and realize, okay, Carmelo's running out there. Nurkic is coming back here. I need to run out and guard the corner. The problem is Dame doesn't do that. And this is just a botched backside rotation. The problem wasn't that we trapped at all. You know, the problem wasn't this trap. This was a good trap. Karis LeVert didn't go downhill and get a bucket like he did all game. But here's the problem. It's like our backside rotations need to be better. And that's the thing. It's like we need to coach this more. We need to run it more during the regular season so our rotations are better. But like Terry Stotts can call a timeout and get these guys rotating better than this. And that's the thing. If Dame rotated out to that corner, he would have been able to get there in time. If he starts rotating out now, he would have been able to get there in time. So,
and Jimbo says, well, they have a mismatch, Jared Allen on Dame, but Jared Allen didn't even look to the basket. Like, he's not like an offensive threat from the top of the key there.
Yep.
So like you won't get burned. And yeah, obviously if that's Anthony Davis or someone like that, you don't want to necessarily run this where you're leaving Dame on Anthony Davis or whatever. But against this team, that's what we're saying. Every game should have a different philosophy. And in this game, it was either Jared Allen or like who, there wasn't even a center in their second unit. Like they didn't even play a big until Lance Thomas the last couple minutes. So like there was no one that could get in the paint and take advantage of that mismatch. Other than getting downhill, and it's just frustrating that we tried this once and it didn't work because of something we did wrong on the
Mm-hmm.
backside of it, and then we never see it again the rest of the game. It's just so frustrating because we couldn't stop Levert all game except for this one play, and we stopped him. At least we made someone else score. Like when someone's scoring 37 points, or like when Dame went off last night, they decided with like 7 minutes left in that game that they were just going to be like, "Oh, sorry, Dame, you're not going to score again. Like we're going to make it
Yeah.
really hard on you." You know?
Yeah. A couple things I want to say. When you record this in the future, just record it all the way through, because I can pause it, and I can like kind of tell when you want me to
Well,
pause it. So
I just like pausing it at certain points to like, yeah, just talk about. But yeah,
yeah, but like
yeah.
I'll like pause it like right where you pause it, because I can kind of tell like where you
Yeah.
want me to pause it, and then this big play. If this play button wasn't in the way, it'd be fine. It's just this big
Yeah.
old play button.
Okay. Sounds good.
So I think it'd just be easier, and I can easily adjust this to where you want it. So, but here's the thing: it's like, yeah, you got Jared Allen catching it there, but one, yeah, he's at 15 feet. The thing is, Nurkic is rotating back too. So unless Jared Allen makes like a quick move past Dame, which like would be hard to do for a center to make a quick move past Dame, like Anthony Davis might be one of the only guys, but still, like if Dame can just hold up this big for a second, Nurkic is going to be back there. So, like, if he tries to make a move at this point against Dame, Nurkic is rotating over and he's going to get doubled and he's going to get smothered. And then it's going to be hard for him to even get rid of the ball in that case. We could probably force a turnover. And then if he's still, you know, if Nurkic, if Jared Allen makes a move against Dame and Nurkic is back and it's doubled and he's still somehow able to make this kick out pass, then Dame still has time to rotate out to the corner and Nurkic is back on Jared Allen and we're completely fine defensively and we didn't give up anything.
Honestly, against this personnel, I would have been fine with Melo just staying in the corner and Nurk just sliding over to Kirks there.
Yeah.
And then we have it all covered still. And then eventually, you know, they could try to post up Allen or whatever. But like I said, at this point, there's like less than 10 seconds in the shot clock once Temple gets the ball. So they're going to have to like kind of scramble. You don't have a lot of time to like do anything. And that's the frustrating part. Like right now, if Nurk just goes to Kurix and Melo goes to the corner, we have this completely covered. And it wasn't even that good of a double team. It was just kind of like a soft double team. It wasn't like a hard hedge or a blitz or anything like that. So yeah,
I still would prefer, you know, to get Nurkic down here because then you would have Jared Allen on him. If they were smart and Nurkic rotated out there, he would kick it out here and then he'd go down to the block and post up Lillard. But if it's like late in the shot clock, yeah, you know, because this, like, Jared Allen is a mismatch down here on the block inside. He's not a mismatch when he has the ball at the free throw line and he can't shoot. He doesn't shoot, you know what I mean? Because he's going to have to make a move off the dribble past Dame in order to accomplish something. So if they don't have time to, like, kick it out and for him to get good position and for them to exploit it, then, like, yeah, you could have Nurkic rotate out. But that's the thing. Like, that takes a lot of practice and situational awareness and like, a vocal coach, you know? Because you can, like, I don't know. I feel like a good coach might call out, you know, if it's late in the shot clock, Nurk left wing or something. I don't know, like some sort of terminology or whatever. I don't even know if coaches do that, but there is different ways you can rotate in different situations, and it takes like a really smart team to be able to effectively do that. But either way, like our rotations were still botched here, and that's the only reason we gave up a 3.
And you've talked about this a lot. It's all about communication. Like if Dame's going to stay with Allen, he needs to be yelling at Nurk to recover to the corner or something, or just yelling corner, 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 and or Nurk's got to be like, get out of here, clear, you know, and then Dame knows to go back to his guy or whatever. Like, so there's just so many things we can do if we taught our guys the proper techniques in these situations. And this is my problem. And like Stotts in the post games, I could see him now. Oh, we tried to drop Chris LeVert and it gave up a wide open 3 in the corner. What do we like? Why would I go back to that? You know, like that's the stupid crap he says. And then people are like, "Oh yeah, take that, Tori and Eric. Stott said he tried to run it and it didn't work. So what do you think of that?" And like, well, this is what I think of that.
Yeah, I mean, like at this point, Allen has already passed the ball. Dame should be starting to run out there right now, but he doesn't. He stays there. He stays there, and then Nurkic is like, oh, I guess I have to run out. You know what I mean? And Nurkic is A, slower, and B, like, Dame could have started running before Nurkic because Nurkic is running back to his man here. Like, Dame should be running now. Nurkic is still running back here. So, that's the thing. It's like, Dame, this is enough time. I wish I could like play it through, but this is enough time where like Dame could get out there in this play. So that's the thing. That's the easiest thing. That's what most teams do. If you trap and they throw it to the middle of the court, you have the help. This is good help side positioning by Dame. This is good help side positioning by Dame. It was kind of weird how there was a guy running through.
Yeah.
But Dame realized he was running corner. Dame knew they were trapping. So Dame knew to stay in the middle of the floor and help here. So this is like perfect help side by Dame, right? Mm-hmm. This would have been such a perfect defensive possession if right now Dame just started running out to the corner. That's all it would have taken. It would have been perfect. We wouldn't have had a mismatch. Melo would have still been on Kurucs. Nurkic would have been back on Allen. Dame would have been able to be out on the corner against Garrett Temple, who was guarding in the first place. And they would have completely shut down the pick and roll instead of letting Karis LeVert just walk his way into the lane and take his sweet-ass time and get whatever he wanted. Like, That's the thing. And that's why it's so frustrating when we just keep running drop, pick, and roll scheme. So that's why we should trap a guy like Karis LeVert, because he's not, like, super skilled with the ball where he's going to, split these guys or be able to beat this trap off the dribble. He's not, like Dame could maybe split these guys or be able to like be so quick that he beats the big around and gets downhill, but that's not Karis LeVert. Karis LeVert isn't like that. That's why I said before the game, we shouldn't just drop all game. He loves playing against drop. We should throw in a trap. We should throw in a hard hedge. We should throw in something like this because he's not a guy to beat this thing off the dribble.
And the thing is right here, if because Nurk, like I said, he kind of steps back in his stance. If he blitzes that a little harder, I don't even know if LeVert gets that pass to Allen.
Because he could have kept running at this point. He stopped right there.
Yeah, he could have been right there where he's going and cut him off, and then it would have been a really tough pass. Mm-hmm. It's not necessarily.
Yeah. Instead of having this much space, he could have been like on the ball. He could have been on him, like kind of like Gary Trent Jr. is on him, and then he probably doesn't have the space to make that pass. Because he has the space there. If Nurkic is literally on him, that's the thing. It's like Nurkic should blitz hard. The thing you do risk if you do that is like if he blitzes hard and it does risk him possibly splitting if you blitz up and give too much space in between. But Karis LeVert isn't the type to do that. A
huge strength of his game.
Mm-hmm. Exactly, and that's the thing. It's like you have to run situational defense based on who they have in the game, right? Different schemes work for different players. I've been talking about earlier this stream, John Morant struggles against drop, pick, and roll scheme. Okay, John Morant is also the type that can split a trap and get around a trap. So it probably makes more sense to run a drop, pick, and roll scheme. Now, if drop, pick, and roll scheme doesn't work, then you adjust. But that's a perfect example of, okay, drop, pick, and roll scheme is better to run against John Morant than a trap. Meanwhile, Karis LeVert, he loves playing against drop, pick, and roll scheme. So you don't run drop, pick, and roll scheme. You throw in a trap, and you trap him more, and you hedge more. That's the thing. The defense needs to be catered to who the other team has on the floor. And my problem is it's not. My problem is it's just one scheme, and it's not really dependent on who they have on the floor. It's just, Stotts wants to run drop scheme, or, randomly we'll just switch everything for no reason, and that's all it is. That's why I think he's one of the worst defensive coaches in the league, because most NBA coaches will cater what they're doing defensively to who is on the other team, to what the offense is, You saw it with that Brooklyn game, with them trapping Dame, with them selling out on Dame. You see it every now and then whenever we play Houston with Stotts trapping Harden and getting the ball out of his hands, and it works. But the problem is, against 28 of the other teams in the NBA, we don't do it. We just run drop scheme. That's it. If Game 1 of the Western Conference Finals, Steph Curry loves drop scheme. Game 1 of the Western Conference Finals last year, we just ran drop scheme. And
you mean he likes shooting wide open threes? Yeah. Who would have guessed that?
He has a super quick release, super good off the dribble. Like, of course he's going to love getting a screen and being able to dribble up to the three-point line with nobody in front of him.
Hey, Jake Carey. What's up, man? Tori was talking about you earlier, and you must have like heard that subconsciously or something.
Yeah, or something. I was saying you were the one guy who likes thoughts that I like really respect your opinion because you actually will break down stuff within the game, whereas meanwhile people would just say, "Look at the roster he had," or the players like him, that type of stuff. So, Jake said last night was very frustrating. I want to hear you elaborate on it. I want to hear your thoughts on it because for me, I don't know if you heard me talk about this, Jake, but for me, I got super frustrated running drop scheme against Karis LeVert because that's the type of scheme Karis LeVert loves to play against. He gets to his mid-range spots. He has the length to dribble up to the dropping big and then shoot over them, and he takes his time, kind of manipulates that space. I said before that Brooklyn Nets game that Karis LeVert loves playing against the drop scheme on the pick and roll, and that he's not that good dealing with like hardcore pressure or a trap or a hard hedge, that type of thing. So I got super frustrated because we just kept dropping the big against him and we didn't adjust. I don't know if you had the same frustrations. I'm kind of curious as to what you thought about that.
And Mike Posner, we already mentioned that we don't want to break down anything from the Lakers series. We need to take care of Memphis first and not worry about that yet. We have plenty of time to break down. We have several days.
Yep.
If we take care of business tomorrow to break down,
that'll be a good question to ask when hopefully we get that preview stream for the first round.
And as for Leo, if you watch the watch party back and you hear me anytime going like, oh, like that was my, like they showed Stotts on the screen, and every time they showed him, he had like the dumbest look, like just blank expression on his face. Yeah. And so I was like making up what was going on in his mind. But so that's what that was. Because I know you guys don't know what point of the game it's on.
Yeah. Jake said, definitely agree. I just don't think Terry trusts Melo and Zach to rotate scramble well enough, which I understand, but it's also like if your defense is that bad, like even if you don't really trust those guys to rotate and scramble well enough, like they should be able to improve as the game goes along. If you run it for long enough, they should be able to notice where they're going wrong. Call a timeout and show these guys where they need to be. I think Melo actually doesn't. I think Melo's big problem is he overhelps too much. I don't think he's necessarily terrible like scrambling out. Like that play that we just showed, he did. He was splitting the two guys on the wing in the corner, and he did rotate out to the first pass. So, I don't know. That's the thing. It's like, I get it if it's like at this point in the season, you don't trust your team to rotate well enough. But, like, I put that on Stotts because they don't do it enough throughout the season. I feel like if they ran different schemes throughout the season, they would be better with their backside rotations behind a trap. The problem is they just don't run it, so they don't get the repetition in order to be effective at running a trap or a hedge 100% of the time right now. So,
and my problem is, I think that's a lame excuse if you want to say, well, they're not good at doing anything else. Well, they're not good at running what we're running. It's like,
yeah.
Like what's the point to keep running it? Like, why not even, like, if you want to show, like, try running something different, and it's like, oh, Zach and Melo can't rotate on the backside, and it happens time and time and time again, no matter how many times, like, you see Stotts, like, explaining to them, like, you need to do this or whatever, and they're still not doing it right. That's when, like, Tori and I are fair. We will more than graciously say, look, Stotts tried running X, Y, and Z. None of it worked. Like, what is he supposed to do? Like, he tried everything. But my problem is his scheme is not working, and he's not switching it. I don't care if you don't trust people. Your scheme isn't working. Do something. Like, I don't care if you don't trust them. Like, you got to, like, find a way to maximize your personnel and to get them to at least find a system that works with the players you have, instead of just whining about how your players you have can't do your scheme, or your players aren't good enough to be good defensively. There's nothing you can do. Like, that just seems like such a cop-out from a coach. And I know it's not him saying it, but like to me, that's how he coaches games, is with that attitude. And it's just mind-boggling to me that you wouldn't try to maximize and find out different schemes that would work for the personnel you have if you don't trust them to do certain things.
Yep. Very, very well said. Very well said. And I love talking about Jake with this. That's the thing. He's like, oh, you can't stand when people like Stotts. It's like, no, I love having coaching conversations with Jake, even though Jake is a lot more positive in regards to Stotts than we are. You know what I mean? So I love when Jake comes in here and we can talk about coaching and we can talk about this type of stuff. But yeah, I mean, that's well said, Eric. That's exactly how I feel on it too. You can't. The definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. I'd understand if our defense was like kind of and there was downside to maybe switching it, like, oh, it could be worse, but it's like, I don't see how our defense can be any worse than it is right now. We gave up 133 to the Brooklyn Nets. We gave up 131 to the Dallas Mavericks. We're the worst defensive team in the bubble. Like, we try something else, you know what I mean? Like, I don't see how it can be much worse. Like, let's see it then. Let's experiment, There's a lot more upside to trying something else at this point than there is downside. And in regards to like scrambling and rotating, we seem to do an okay job against Houston with Zach and with Melo when we did it against Houston. We did give up some open threes, but I also feel like when you trap and when you pressure and when you do that, the whole entire offense doesn't really have much of a rhythm. You take the offense out of rhythm, so even if they get open shots, guys don't hit them as much. And I think we saw that against Brooklyn when they trapped Dame. We were getting open shots with the good shooters, with CJ, with Gary Trent Jr., but we weren't really hitting them. Our offense was kind of uncomfortable. It kind of took us out of our rhythm, out of our comfort zone a little bit.
You can tell it gets chaotic, and they kind of get nervous and are like, oh crap, Dame's getting pressured. What are we supposed to do? And then you pointed this out several times when like Nurk got the ball in, like it wasn't at the 3-point line where he's used to just standing there and running an offensive, like getting a cut and throwing a backdoor pass or something. Instead, it was like right around the free throw line. It just kind of stuck in between, like being able to play make out of that position and having to drive to the hoop. And then he kind of makes an awkward move and he throws up a bad shot or makes a bad pass out of that or whatever. And it's just like you get every player out of their comfort zone just a little bit. And it's just frustrating to see teams do that to us. And then like we don't seem to care about even trying to make them uncomfortable. We just let them get comfortable the whole game. And then like last play of the game, here we are still like running the same scheme, It's like just so frustrating.
Yeah. Shervin says talk about the 2-3 zone on inbounds. We just got to stop doing that. It doesn't make sense. It literally it gives up an open shot 90% of the time we run it. So I don't understand why. Like, that's the thing. It's like Stotts has all of a sudden become like, okay, well, I'm always just going to run a 2-3 zone on an inbounds, and it doesn't matter how well other teams do against it. That's just what he wants to do now, so that's what he's always going to do. And that's the thing with Stotts. I just think he's too stubborn. I think he could be a good NBA coach if he wasn't so stubborn. But it's like he loves to drop the big. He just is in love with dropping the big, and he doesn't want to do anything else. So he'll, like, trap one play, and then if it gives up an open three, he's like super. It's almost like he's happy that was the result. Like, oh, see, well, I tried it, didn't work. Can go back to drop scheme now. You know what I mean? It's like that's always been his biggest like flaw, is that he's just a little too stubborn to switch things up, to do different stuff when the situation calls for it. Sometimes the situation might call to drop the big. Against John Morant, I'm cool starting the game with that scheme. John Morant struggles against the drop big. I'm cool with isolating CJ if CJ's hot. I'm cool with isolating Melo if Melo's hot. I'm cool with running pick and roll if it's working, But when teams take that stuff away, or CJ isn't hot, Melo isn't hot, we need to be able to adjust. If teams are trapping Dame, maybe use Dame off the ball a little bit more. It's not fluid enough. And that's the thing. When it comes down to playoffs, this is why I say Stotts is like a really good rebuilding coach, but not a good playoff coach, because playoffs are a game of adjustments, and that's the thing. He's just too stubborn, and he just doesn't want to adjust. And like, he only adjusts when he really has to. I mean, you look at the Western Conference Finals. He went into that series running a drop scheme against Stephen Curry. That's kind of ridiculous to me. And then he adjusted when he had to, and the whole nation was like, what the hell are they doing? Why are they running a drop scheme on Steph Curry? So it does get frustrating.
Welcome to the club, Alex Wolf. He said every single analysis I've seen in the past 48 hours has ripped Portland's defense. And then I asked him, aren't you usually defending Stotts? And he said, I was for a while, but there's no defending this horrifying defense lately.
Yeah.
So welcome.
I feel like anybody who legitimately listens to us, they might not agree, but they will understand. You know what I mean? They won't be saying, oh, it's so insane. Anybody who legitimately listens to us and doesn't just sit there and play devil's advocate and like tries to think of ways to like discount what we're saying or like not listen to what we're saying. I feel like anybody who actually legitimately listens to us with an open mind, at least kind of understands where we're coming from. Even if they still disagree. Because I don't know if Jake's still in here. I think he might have left. But like, I feel like he at least understands where we're coming from. I think,
Yeah. So David Vanderpool, I mean, I'm sure the 50 people who are in here right now have heard me say this before, but there is got to be a reason why he left for basically the same position with another team. It wasn't like it's not like he got a promotion. I mean, I know technically he's like the like head assistant coach or like whatever. There was some title that he didn't have in Portland, but he's still like the assistant coach. So like if he truly liked, coaching with Stotts and Stotts was listening to him and he was doing things, like there would have, I don't see him leaving for a similar position on another team, especially with his relationship with the guards and Damian Lillard in particular. I don't see him just being like, peace out, guys. I'm
packing
out of
up
here.
His whole family and moving to Minnesota, living in Minnesota in the winter, which is probably the worst city to live in. Like, yeah, it doesn't make sense. So there has to be something to that.
And you've seen him, and Nate Tibbetts is this way as well. Like every summer you'd be like, oh, so-and-so, Atlanta or whatever, asked for permission to interview both of them for their head coaching job or whatever. And, like, at some point, I think he realized that Stotts isn't letting him, like, control anything. So, like, when he goes into these interviews and they're like, oh, so you were in charge of the defense. Like, what did you do? And he's like, well, I wanted to do this, but Stotts wouldn't let me. Like, he just kept saying, like, oh, maybe we'll try that in the future, but right now I just want to keep it the same. I think there had to have been some element to that, and I'm obviously just, like, making stuff up here, but, like...
You're like, speculating.
Something had to have happened to make him want to leave this situation, to take this similar situation. And I'm pretty sure it's because he knows he needed to get out of here if he's ever going to take that next step to being a head coach. And that's a guy who does have the temperament and seems like he can be a head coach in this league at some point. But I lost my train of thought. But Stotts, I've also said this, Stotts won a championship with having a defensive coordinator, and he was the offensive coordinator. So, like he should know that is a system, like, to trust your assistant. Like Carlisle trusted Dwayne Casey running the defense. And then Dwayne Casey gets a head coaching job, has some success, gets fired, and their team wins a championship and is now, like you could say, oh, well, they got Kawhi Leonard, but then how do you explain this year where they don't have Kawhi Leonard and they're playing amazing basketball and they don't have DeRozan anymore either, so it's not like they got the player back they traded for Kawhi Leonard or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, I do want to talk about Toronto. Sorry for cutting you off. But, like, if that roster was here, people wouldn't hype up that roster here. I mean, like, they got Pascal Siakam, Kyle Lowry, Norman Powell, OG Anunoby. Like, they don't have, like, a phenomenal roster. You know what I mean? Like, that is a perfect example of a team that's, like, playing better than their roster, in my opinion. The thing is, you can point to specific things that Nick Nurse does there that helps them overachieve if you just, compare that to their roster on paper.
Yeah, and so, like, I just don't get, like, because obviously Dwayne Casey is probably better as an assistant, just like people mentioned Tom Thibodeau earlier. He's a great defensive assistant. He's not a great head coach. So, like, but the problem is now that they've been a head coach, they're too, like, good to be an assistant coach again. But, like, I just wish Stotts would, because you see this in football all the time where you want the young hotshot offensive coordinator, right?
Yeah.
Whereas most of the defensive coordinators are more like the old, we're the tough, like we're gonna get this done in the trenches, type of old school, like old football.
Yeah.
It's not always the case, but for the most part, like the young hotshot coaches are mostly offensive geniuses, not defensive geniuses. So, like, I don't know, it'd be cool to, like, come up with, like, find someone who's, like, got some innovative ideas on defense and, like, try to, like, just breathe some new life into the defense and, like, let him, like, see what he can do with our lineup and our personnel and stuff like that, and see if he can find something that works for us. And instead of just being like, nope, I'm going to keep doing my schemes and no one's going to tell me to change it because it worked one time in 2017 and it'll still work in the future. I just need better players or whatever,
Yeah. So, I mean, it's always going to be an ongoing conversation as long as he's here. It's always going to be a conversation. I don't know. I wish we had Nick Nurse where it was like, bro, if we had Nick Nurse, we wouldn't be complaining about the coaching. Everybody would love us. everybody if we had Nick Nurse as our coach, man. If if we were like, oh, the coach haters, people would view us. I feel like people would view us how I hope people will view us in the future, where we just break things down in depth. There'd be a lot less animosity. He's definitely become like a divisive figure, like more so than anybody else, and it's interesting to see how that's changed. Compared to how it was like 4 years ago, where it's basically just everybody loves Stotts.
Jake Curry. Tori thinks Fred VanVleet is overrated.
He's solid. I'm naming players off the top of my head. I was just trying to name their starters.
Hamza was mad you forgot Ibaka. Tori does love Ibaka though. So.
And the Marc Gasol, they got a lot. I wasn't trying to list. I mean, I could have listed their whole roster. I was just trying to make a point. They have one, maybe two all-star caliber players. I mean, I guess Kyle Lowry's still an all-star caliber player, but they don't have a top 10 player. They don't have a third all-star guy, you know what I mean? But they're playing insane team basketball. They do have depth, but Nurse has made guys better. Nurse, like Norman Powell has his development stagnated under Casey, and it's gotten better under Nick Nurse. And a guy like Van Vliet as well is kind of the same way, in my opinion.
But that's my point. Find a guy like Nurse and let him just control the defense. No one knew who the hell he was. He was like a G League coach.
Yep.
And before Toronto brought him in, no one, the guy was living out of his car for a while and crap like that.
You know who hated that signing? Chad Dewing. I heard he played a clip about his reaction to the Nick Nurse hiring, and Chad Dewing was just going off about how bad it was, and it's
Good night, Mom. Love you. But when he was hired, I had never heard of him before. I know he wasn't he an assistant under Casey for a year or something.
Mm-hmm.
But I was they fired Dwayne Casey for Nick Nurse. What?
Yeah.
But it's just because I knew nothing about him. But I can only judge him on what he's done so far. But that's the front office. That's their job, is to recognize and find people like that.
That's why you have an in-depth interview process. You have a good interview process so you can single out guys like a Nick Nurse who nobody else really knows, but you can single out qualities and attributes he has that could lead to him being as good as he's been.
And that was I forgot to mention this when we were talking about the podcast that went on last night. So that was the first question he asked me. So my question is always to these people who don't like Stotts, well, then who do you want then? And it's God, not this stupid.
So what was your response to that? Yeah.
Well, I named a couple players, ones you've named, Ime Udoka or Chris Beard, those kind of players, or coaches, I mean. And
he was probably who's Chris Beard?
Yeah, so... I mentioned, he's done a lot with some under-recruited players and gotten that team to pretty good heights.
Mm-hmm.
But I think my answer was basically kind of what I said was you need to be able to find the next guy like a Nick Nurse, and that's their job, is to find that
it's not your job, yeah.
Yeah, and I hate that. I said this too. I hate when you don't change something because you're scared about what could happen if if the future is uncertain or whatever. But that's just enabling the person to keep doing a bad job that's in the spot. This team needs to make a change or do something differently, and it's just frustrating that they wouldn't do it just because they're scared to what if the next one is worse than Stotts or whatever. I don't know. The grass isn't always greener, but at the same time, you need to do something. And if you can't find someone who is better than him, then maybe you're not the person who should be in charge of hiring coaches anyway. So I don't know. It's just
Yeah, I always had that question for that reason. It's not my job to single out who would be an upgrade. It's the front offices, But I mean, I try and do my research on guys. I've watched hours of Ettore Messina's coaching clinics. I've watched coaching clinics from Jay Wright, from other guys. I watch college basketball. I didn't watch a ton this past year, but I've watched college basketball to try and notice things that certain teams are doing, because you have a lot more creativity, I feel like, in college with just different things guys can do. And part of that is, guys aren't quite as talented offensively, so you can do a little bit more with like your defense, and you have to be a little more creative with your offense. You can't just throw the ball to a Damian Lillard and he'll go get you 60, unless you're like Duke and have Zion and guys like that, so yeah, I mean, like, I try and do my research, but it's like, that's why you have a good interview process, The thing is, the New York Knicks, I don't think have a good interview process because they keep settling on retreads that don't fit what they need. I'm not a fan of just the retreads, going out and getting Thibodeau. I don't like that hire, but...
So, Jake kept mentioning that Milwaukee drops the big and Budenholzer, that's his staple or whatever, and that... and people are starting to question why it works for the Bucks so well. Obviously they had one of the top defenses, if not the top defense this year. So if you go back to remember when we showed you guys film, the Blazer guards die on picks. They are not taught the proper way to get through screens. They automatically switch before they're even screened. We showed you 3 plays just randomly out of a game where they go wide through picks. They don't know how to get through them. They're obviously not taught the proper technique. Whereas you watch a team like Milwaukee, they get through almost every pick, not necessarily cleanly, but they fight through to a point where it's not like a huge space for like a Karis LeVert to get 10 feet downhill. So like, if you watch them play, they hardly ever get as much separation between the ball handler and the defender that we get. And that's why it works for other teams and doesn't necessarily work for us. And we gave you numerous examples of how our defenders just do not know how to get through a screen. If they just were in a better position or were just going through it at a different angle, they would have easily gotten through like all the picks we showed, and that we would have been fine defensively because they would have never given up that space for the guy to get an open shot.
Yeah.
So like,
and that's the thing. Our players aren't physically incapable of properly getting through a screen. It's a technique thing. There's a difference between a technique thing compared to, Carmelo Anthony isn't quick enough laterally to guard small forwards. That is like a physical attribute type thing. That's not Carmelo having bad technique. That's him not being quick enough laterally. Getting through screens is a technique thing. It's a technique thing. It's a footwork thing. It's a body positioning thing. And we don't have proper technique. Technique is 100% coachable. So I think that falls with the coach. And when you see a guy like Dame who still has terrible technique getting through screens 8 years later, even though a lot of other facets of his defense have improved, you look at a guy like CJ McCollum, he doesn't know how to get through screens. Gary Trent Jr. has improved a lot defensively the past year. He doesn't know how to get through screens properly. You have a lot of players on this team. It's a common theme that guys on this team don't know how to get through screens. And I think that falls at the heels of the coach. There's too many guys on this team that have always been on this team that don't know how to get through screens.
And yeah, I've brought that up many times, Alex, that Ariza knows how to get through screens, and that's why he can come in and kind of help our defense right now, because like he's been taught the proper way to get through that. And then Jake has another point about how Milwaukee has a conservative perspective that he'd much rather have the guys shoot mid-range shots than get threes. And that's our problem too, is not only do we give up the guy coming around the pick to be open, but we overhelp then and he just kicks out to wide open shooters. Whereas on the Bucks, they might give up that mid-range shot, but they're gonna say, hey, you are not gonna beat us from 3-point line this game, and like I'm staying home on the shooters. So like it's a smart strategy, but they don't do the same thing against every player in every pick like we seem to do, except for James Harden for some reason. But like you've seen the last 4 games, we've run the same scheme basically, and it's burnt us all 4 games, and we don't do anything different to change it other than like a random play here or there, which doesn't work because we don't do it enough. And so like I just feel like a team like Milwaukee is so much more disciplined on the backside of those, and then they're better at not giving up as much space in the actual moment of the pick and roll. And that those two things make all the difference in the world. If you're going to run a drop scheme, you have to have your players on the backside be in the right spots and make the right rotations, and you have to have guys that can fight through picks. And if not, you have to have the ability to I've talked about this several times, where there are points in a play where you can, even if you switch your guard onto a big man, you could quickly then just have the big man run over to him, and then the guard runs back to his guy or whatever. And there's times where you can do that, but we don't do a good job of recognizing any of those. And that's coaching to me. And I just feel like Budenholzer and the Bucks can get away with that. Yes, they have longer, more athletic guys, but they're also like more disciplined. And if you can't tell me that a Damian Lillard couldn't be like just as good a defender as Avery Bradley. I mean, like, Avery Bradley's not like any more athletic than Damian Lillard, so like there's no reason why he couldn't be that on the defensive end. And we talked about not wanting to expend a ton of energy for him when he has to be our main guy on offense. But like there's like the guys on the team, that's why personnel is a weak excuse. It's just frustrating to me that like we can't seem to, because CJ's been on the team for 7 years. Dame's been on the team for 8 years. The fact that they don't know how to get properly through a screen after all that time, and they've had the same coach that the whole time, that to me says that they haven't been taught once how to like properly do this. So it's just super frustrating.
Yeah, I mean the personnel thing is like 10% of the picture, 20%. It's like a slither. It's a sliver of the picture, right? And too many people just take that little sliver, and that's like the whole entire picture for them.
But that's why, like, Stott's scheme works sometimes, is because, like, if you have one player, like you saw it with Ariza, that can get through picks, and he's usually guarding their best player. This is why we had a problem with Melo at the 3, is because we need that guy who can get through the picks. And Harkless is okay at it. I mean, he's not, like, elite like Ariza is, but he's better than the players we have right now. But, like, you have one guy that can just get through a pick, and it completely changes your whole defense, because instead of LeVert getting through all those picks yesterday, Ariza would have been right there with him on half of them, and he doesn't like get comfortable that whole game. He maybe scores like 25 or something like that, and we win by 12, 15 points going away.
And you know what? Yeah, you know what people would say to that is, well, we just need Ariza, we just need the personnel. But my response to that would be, no, we need to teach all our players to get through screens that way, because it's a technique thing that's teachable. Imagine if Dame got through picks that way. Imagine if CJ got through picks that way. Imagine if Gary Trent Jr. got through picks that way.
Mm-hmm.
So
I was hoping like Ariza, I kind of want him to stick around, because maybe that can like wear off on people a little bit.
It's just ridiculous how bad their technique is getting through screens, man. And that's the thing people don't really talk about enough. Guys just die. Well, like, they don't talk about it deep enough. It's just like, well, Dame just dies on screens. It's like, okay, why does he die on a screen? Why does he die on a screen? It's because his technique is bad. Okay, do you really not think that's something that's fixable? Like, that's what confuses me. It's like, is that really a personnel thing? Like, how do you it just doesn't make sense. Like, guys aren't incapable of getting through screen. Like, it's just such a footwork technique thing. It's not like a physical attribute.
Well, I mean, I don't know how many times we have to show people, like, they don't even try to get through screens most of the time. Like, they're just like, oh, the guy's picking me, I'm done. Like, I'm not even gonna try. Like, and that's so frustrating. Like, you see it time and time again, and it's like,
shoot, like, half the time, you know, a screen's coming. It's like Dame does this. He'll get way too wide of a base and get like sunk into the floor, and then he can't really move because his feet get too wide, and it just doesn't make sense. It's like, why? And then he'll like open up towards the screen and almost like bump chests with them. You know what I mean? It just doesn't make sense. It's like, keep your feet underneath you enough where you can still move your feet, get up to the offensive player's hip, and try and stay attached to their hip. And get through the screen that way. It's just proper technique. Like, it's kind of hard to explain, but it's just like, there's nothing stopping Dame from doing that. Like, Dame could do so much athletically. Like, he's not incapable of getting through a screen properly.
And the weirdest part to me is I've heard Stotts in the past say you want to take away shots at the rim and 3-point shots, right? You want to force them into tough twos. But, like, so how do you explain your defense being so bad at defending the three then? Like, that doesn't make any sense to me. Like, obviously something is wrong if you're saying that your defense is set up to stop them from hitting open threes, yet we give up like a ton of open threes and they're hitting a high percentage of them. Like something is not connecting there, and I don't understand what is going on. Like I don't even know what to say. I'm like so like it doesn't make any sense to me.
It's baffling. It's baffling, man. So I don't even know what to add on to that. Like you've summarized things pretty well so far.
Sherman said, "Yeah, okay, Mr. 2.2 points per game, Tori."
Man, that argument on Twitter.
Stotts averaged 12 points per game. Someone said in college he's way better than you,
bro. It's like that
I think
whole
he played
argument,
like Oklahoma or something.
Like my whole point was like, if you play a season of college ball, you're gonna learn things and become smarter in regards to the game of basketball. Like some of the smartest people in the Blazers fan base, in my opinion, are people that have played college basketball, because you learn things that otherwise would be hard to learn. You can learn these things without playing college basketball, but that takes you like doing film study yourself and listening to the right people, and like hopefully people that don't play college basketball can learn this type of stuff because we explain it well, and because we've experienced, because we've learned it from experience and passing it on. You learn a lot from playing the game of basketball. You learn a lot about basketball from playing the game of basketball. One of the biggest things I learned in college was proper help side rotations behind different pick and roll schemes, because we pretty much just ran zone in high school, so I learned that type of stuff, and now I can break it down because I learned it. And that was my whole point on Twitter, and they turned it into like, oh, well, you only played 7 minutes a game, so you ain't learned, like that, like somehow that's like makes it so that I didn't learn it through practice and through film study and that type of thing. You know what I mean? So that was ridiculous. It was weird that guy Googled me and searched all that stuff up, though.
Yeah, Kevin, so Tori got in a Twitter beef with someone, and he looked up Tori's college stats, but that was like his freshman year, and he barely played.
Yeah,
so, like,
I had nagging injuries all season long. We were a really deep team, Some people, oh, excuses. Like, no, we had like a really, really deep team. We finished 4th out of 33 teams, and I didn't play as well as I could have. If I went back the next year, I would have started. Maybe I should have went back, so then I could have averaged 12 to 15 and said, well, there's my stats, bro. Like,
Dang girls, man.
Yeah, damn girls, man. I stayed here because of girls. Like, you know what I mean? It's just stupid. It's such a stupid Twitter beef. Like, man, I ain't trying to hear any trash talk about my college stats from a guy who probably averages 2.2 points per game in his YMCA rec league. But then it's like also like, I mean, I guess I talk bad about Mario Hezonja, and that's probably how Hezonja feels about me. So
yeah.
I guess that's what it feels like. It's just ridiculous. It's like, how does that say I didn't learn anything from playing college basketball? How does that say, like, I don't know. And my whole thing is, like, I'm cool. Like, if you never play and whatever, and you have an opinion, I'm cool. I just think it's funny when, like, people who have, like, obviously never played come at my neck for, like, opinions that I have that are, like, based on in-depth things that, like, you probably won't learn unless you really try to learn them. You know what I mean? Like, I just think that's funny. So that was my whole point about the Twitter thing, and they twisted it into a bunch of nonsense and whatever. I'll have fun with it. I was laughing at it. This guy is probably, like, has me on his mind right now while he's trying to go to sleep. Like, cool.
Yep. LeVar Ball.
LeVar Ball 2.2, man. But, yeah, I don't know. Like, somebody said per 36 you average 12 a game. I'm like, that was funny.
Nice.
I think it's more like 13.
And then someone's like, you can't use per 36 stats.
Per 36 stats. Like, shoot, man. I'd like to see those people, like, anybody who wants to talk trash about my basketball skill can come play me one-on-one when this pandemic is over. I gotta play Chief and Blazers one-on-one once this pandemic's over. Like, come play me then. Once this pandemic is over, I'm trying to get in the best shape of my life, though, so be prepared.
Sanji says Stas probably switched all his screens in college when his coach wanted him to hedge. That's where he learned it.
Probably. Mike, you want to play me? Okay, man. Y'all can line up and we can play King of the Hill. But just know, I am grinding once my gym opens back up. I am trying to become better than I ever was. Where I'm trying to do my jump program. Once I move out, I'm gonna get box jumps. Do my jump program. I want to dunk on all y'all. That's the goal. I want to be throwing down and try and get my jump shot back because my jump shot was kind of broke for a couple years. Gotta fix that. I tried to copy Steph Curry's form. Never try to copy that guy's form because it's actually like a really strange form. Like, it looks good, but like if you break down Steph Curry's form, it's weird, man. It's strange. So don't try and copy it. That was the mistake I made.
Leo says Torrey about a flagrant foul, a bunch of 16-year-olds.
Oh my goodness. Hey. I'm gonna play it. I'm gonna play it tough, man. If you're a 16-year-old and you're coming and challenging me, I'm not gonna take it easy. Let me just say that. No weak stuff in my lane. That's all I gotta say.
God, how fun would it be if we could meet up to play basketball right now?
Oh, I know. I'd love to beat you one-on-one again.
This is like the worst part. The worst part about this pandemic is not being able to hoop very much.
I know. Yeah, it's rough, man. I miss my gym, bro. Like, shoot, I haven't shot in 3 months, basically. I haven't shot one shot. That's crazy to me.
I'm almost to the point where I'm just going to start, like, going on jogs with a basketball, just dribbling around. Like, not even shooting.
That'd be
just,
so
like,
funny.
just work on my handles, like, all, like, every...
If I had, like, my own garage or something, like my own place, I would go out to the garage and just work on my ball handling and that type of stuff and have my box jumps and have, like, weights and stuff. Like, that's the plan when I move out, is to be able to do that. So, God, I need out of here. I need my own place, man. I want a place that's, like, decent. So, I don't know. God, I've been talking about it for so long. I tried to buy a car today, though. I might have a new car in the next week.
Nice.
That'll be cool.
Why did Giannis headbutt Wagner? Wagner. It didn't make sense to me either. It's like a meaningless game for them, and like he's getting all mad. But like at the same time, maybe Budenholzer told him he was going to play in the last game and play a lot, and he was like, "Screw this, I want to rest." And just like it was like, I know they're not going to suspend me more than one game. It cost him almost like $200,000 though. That's
an insane amount of money. Alex said, "Tori, you can stay in my shed." That's funny. No thanks. Appreciate the offer though. Andres says, "Hey guys, new to the chat, but always watch your vids. You guys are great. Appreciate it, man. I love seeing new people that like watch our stuff that actually finally comment in chat because I know there's definitely a lot of people who do watch us. We literally have 47 people watching us right now. We probably have like 10 to 12 people talking in chat, maybe 15. You know what I mean? So I know there's definitely people watching this that aren't commenting. So it's always cool to see new names in chat. So appreciate it. I appreciate you saying what's up. I appreciate you watching the vids. I'm glad you enjoy what we do. Shervin says, "Tori, did you drop out of college for that girl?" I didn't drop out of college. I just stopped playing college basketball, and I moved back here, and I kept taking classes at Clark College, but I didn't I don't know. Part of it was like the grind was tough, and my knees aren't the best, so that was a problem when I played college basketball. I could have went and played for another JUCO coach really, really wanted me to come play for him. I went up there and practiced a couple days, and he really wanted me to play for them. I would have had to redshirt, though, and he says, "I run it like a D1 program. We do weights from 6 to 8 a.m. and then practice from 1:30 to 4 or something like that." I'm like, you know what? I don't really want that. I'm not really down, so I didn't do it. But, yeah.
Man, I always think about that, though, like, nowadays, if you were presented with that, it would be like, oh, hell yeah, I'm going to do this and make the team, and I'm going to be so good after doing that, you know?
I still wouldn't do it now. I don't know.
Really?
Just that type of grind is tough. The thing is, the college I played at, we only, in the fall, the college that I was going to go to, like the second college, did six days a week for 5 hours a day. The college that I played at before only did, in the fall, 4 days a week, and it was 2.5 hours a day. We didn't do any weight training or anything. We just practiced. We just practiced and did conditioning and that type of stuff. And what's funny is the college I played at before beat the college that I was going to go to. The year I played the college I went at before, we beat the college I was going to go to in playoffs. So people would say like, well, you should be doing more. It's college basketball. The other program runs it like a D1 program. Well, we beat that D1 ran program. So it was fun. Like, it was actually like fun. It wasn't like a grind. Like, the practices were fun, and we had a players coach in college, and it went to like 5-6 days a week in the middle of season, but practices like an hour and a half, 2 hours. You know, we got our rest. Like, problem is my knees suck. So even though I was taking ice baths and doing all that, like, I had a really bad pulled quadricep that I missed like a week and a half of practice in the preseason. That kind of put me behind because I was practicing well, and then I kind of got behind and never really got like that level of comfort back. And my knees, I don't have the best knees. I've told Eric about this in the past. So yeah, just that type of stuff like held me back, you know. I mean, I don't know what it would have been, but would have definitely been cool to see how I how I would have done like year 2. Sherman said that girl made Tori quit hooping and then broke his heart. Man, that oh, I mean, like,
pretty accurate.
she did break my heart for like, but like gradually, where it wasn't like like you would think. You know what I mean? And I shouldn't have been tripping over her in the first place. Let me just say that I should not have been tripping over her. Like, I should have been done a while ago. I should have been the one who was done, but I was too like caught up in it, and it's kind of, I'm like the type that's like, I don't want to give up on people, if that makes sense, even when I should. So, yeah. Y'all want to hear me talk about my freaking ex? Is that what this? It's midnight, so is this what we're gonna get into? Oh man.
See, I wish I grinded a little harder in like the off season in high school versus like just goofing around, like being a teenager, you know?
Yeah, I wish I grinded a little harder that one time I went to the club too. But oh, I knew the face palm was gonna happen to that, but yeah, no, that's the thing. Like, once I'm able to, I want to like get in good shape because I'm too chubby right now. I got a little bit of a double chin. That's why I don't like being clean shaven and shit. Like, I need to like slim down just everything, including my face and all that. So, I want to try and get athletic and get kind of back to where I was, but just stronger too. Actually lift weights for the first time in my life.
Mm-hmm.
Remember when Tori was facepalming because of Eric? Yeah. I owe Eric a lot of face palms. Like, I need to make him facepalm a lot to get him to catch up to how much I had to facepalm that damn stream. Oh my goodness, that stream, man. We're gonna get off soon. We're not recreating any of that. I gotta go work a little bit.
Yeah, and I gotta go to bed.
Lay off the soda, my dude. I quit soda and lost like half a stone.
So hard though. I love soda so much.
Yeah, it's tough, man. It's tough. I need to work out more. If I consistently worked out, I would lose weight. Like, I haven't gained weight in 3 years, and I eat like crap. So it's like,
yeah, I was always like that. Super skinny, could eat whatever I wanted. So just be careful when you get older.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just like, I haven't worked. If I was working out right now, I'd definitely, I don't know. Maybe I am. I think I'm like 220. I would love to be like 205. Like 200 to 205 would be perfect for me. But Chris, you're clean off the Pepsi now. Oh, I bathe in soda. God, that'd be horrible to bathe in soda.
Yeah. Sticky.
Oh, yeah. Better than beer? Yeah, I don't really drink beer, so that helps.
Yeah, I've gotten to the point where if I'm like playing basketball consistently or working out and stuff, like, it's not like bad. Like, I can eat still whatever I want. But if I'm only playing basketball like once a week or like the last few months, not at all, it's bad. Yeah.
Yeah, man, you ain't a point forward. You're a small center.
Zacho came in here earlier and said he was drunk.
Why did he leave then? You could have.
And then he said some random thing like LMAO. No, I'm good, LMAO, and then left. He said it twice, and then like we haven't heard from him since.
But Zacho, man, I love Zacho.
Tori, you've only seen me play like when I weigh like 260 pounds. Like you never see me.
I know, that's why you're not a point forward. You're a small center. I'm a shooting forward. You're a
They
small
were
center.
asking me what position I played, not what position I played
Played.
currently.
Played.
Obviously, in pickup games or like Rip City 3-on-3, I'm going to be a center in most situations because, like, I don't know, there's not many people as big as me in those places. So.
True. But I don't know, man. I mean, we're what? We are like 5 months into things shutting down. God, it feels like so much longer than that. How are we only 5 months into like things being shut down? Doesn't it feel like it's been like 10?
So part of me feels like this has been the longest year of all time, but part of me feels like, oh my God, it's almost 2021. Like, holy crap.
Yeah, I feel like anytime you think about like the actual year, like you kind of remember like, oh wow, it's almost. You remember thinking, oh wow, it's almost 2020. So it's like weird to be thinking, oh wow, it's almost 2021. Like it makes it seem like it's gone fast. But like thinking back to this year, like without thinking like that way, it's like, dude, how was that only 5 months ago? Like it's like, so, like I've finally got used to like, okay, this is how society is. But, like, because I'm so used to, like, okay, this is how society is. It's completely normal to see people wearing masks. It's weird to think about, like, it's only been 5 months because it's, like, it feels like it would take so much longer to, like, get used to it, if that makes sense. And it's, like, I don't know. Like, it feels like it's been a lot longer than 5 months because of just how much we've had to get used to, I feel like, if that makes sense. Like, it's so normal to see people in masks now. It's, like, it's so normal to, like, oh, well, I'm going to keep my distance from everybody. And it's so normal. Like, it's so normal to think, that guy's not wearing a mask. What the hell? You know what I mean? But those are thoughts, like, 5 months ago that, like, weren't, like, didn't exist. And now it's just so, like, hardwired. It's just weird, man. It is weird. So that's the thing. It feels short. It feels short and long, apparently. I feel like it feels long. It doesn't feel short to me. I feel like it feels long, man. I mean, shoot, we already finished the 8-game bubble. Wait, no, that would mean it went fast. I don't know. I'm tripping. I don't know.
Shervins, we've talked about that before. You weren't there the Michael Porter Jr. year, right? At the LSI.
Yeah, it was for one of his games. Not his final game.
You played there though?
Oh no.
That went, yeah.
No, I ain't that young. Yeah. I graduated 2014. That was like 2017, 2018.
Yeah.
No, I played in it the year Aaron Gordon played in it. The year Aaron Gordon was a senior. We didn't get to play against him, though. I wish, because we actually had a 6'8" big. I think we would have beat him. His high school team wasn't that good. It would have been fun to play against Aaron Gordon. I bet you I would have blocked one of his dunks.
I bet you would, though.
Hey, I might have hey, in high school, man, like, I definitely wouldn't have blocked him, but I might have been able to, like, get him down low. I would have felt like a guard, you know what I mean? That's what guards do. But no, in high school, bro, he was the type to, like, bring it down still. You know what I mean? Like, I saw him a couple times watching him play that tournament get picked just because he would like wind up. Like, he'd want to, like, bring the ball down here to just, like, explode up. You know, big guys do that. That's a cardinal sin. I would have felt so good about myself if I, like, bro, that would have been my best. That would have been my favorite play ever if I could just say, oh, I stripped Aaron Gordon. I stole the ball from Aaron Gordon. Instead, I have to settle for I blocked Peyton Pritchard once.
This is as bad as me saying I could take Whiteside in the block.
What do you mean, bro? No, it's not. Not even close, man. Not even close. Saying I think I might have been able to strip him just because he brought the ball down, like if he didn't see me, that's completely different than you saying you could score on Hassan Whiteside because he bited all your pump fakes when he could, like, literally block your shot while squatting. Like, bro, I've beaten a player who's probably as good as LiAngelo Ball one-on-one before. LiAngelo Ball's trash. That's not saying much. Overhyped as hell. In my prime, I'd beat LiAngelo one-on-one.
Yeah, so Shervins, we have heard of the Jefferson guys. Still pretty young, though. But yeah, they should be pretty good in a few years. I mean, they're already good now, but, like, yeah. Peyton Pritchard might sneak into the first round, but I think that's more just Duck fans hyping him up.
He could also go undrafted. Like, he's the type of guard who, like, might go undrafted, you know, like, as a surprise undrafted guy. There's always guys, like, each year that's like, oh, wow, he went undrafted. I feel like Pritchard might be like that guy. I don't know. It's super hard to predict this draft, though. Now that so we make the playoffs, we're going to be out of range of Bay and probably Nesmith. So then are you on board with trading that pick for Bielitsa? If both those guys are off the board.
I don't know. This draft's going to be so weird. Those guys' range, I could see like anywhere from like 8 to 20. It's like so weird.
Alex Wolf. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
I was just saying, I could see them still being on the board, or like both, or like everyone I like being gone. But,
the 16th pick for Bielitsa and the 35th pick. Divac left, which Divac was the guy, was like the main reason Bielitsa even signed there in the first place. So we're going to go out and get Nemanja Bielitsa. And I will be hyped if that happens. Eric will be like, and I'll be like, let's go. Because I love Bielitsa's game. And, like, if our defense is going to suck, our defense is going to suck. It's going to suck with Stotts anyway. Like, yeah. I don't know.
I like his game. I just think he's a horrible fit with Dave and CJ, but yeah.
Not if he's coming off the bench. Because then you put Gary Trent Jr. at one of the guard spots with that, and then you have, like, Rodney Hood, who's, like, an okay defender at small forward, and then you have Whiteside maybe off the bench, so you have, like, 3 decent defenders in there with that bench lineup. You know, you probably wouldn't play Bielitsa in there at the same time. But, bro, if you have, like, Dame, CJ, one of Gary Trent Jr. or Rodney Hood, and Bielitsa, like, the shooting from the 3 and 4 spots next to Dame and CJ, like defensively, it'd be a problem. But, like, offensively, bro, that much space for, like, a Dame Nurk pick and roll, ooh, that would be impossible for teams to deal with. So, I mean, we're already just, like, outscoring teams anyway. Like, I don't know. You could do that. But the bench should have decent defense if we have Trent and Hood off the bench next year.
So Sherman says, why can't Olshey have huge balls and blockbuster trade CJ Collins and someone else for a start? Like, just that bugs me, man. Like, I hate that. Because who? Like, tell me who you're going to get for that. That would be better for our team than those guys.
Yep. Gotta say who. We kind of sound like people say, oh, you got to say who you name as the coach. But
Olshey doesn't take risks. Well, what risk should he have taken? Well, I don't know. He should have kept Emilia. That's not a risk. That's just like a stupid
Eric's talking about a 503 conversation. That kind of, yeah. But, I mean, that's the thing is, like, talking 2 years ago, we didn't really have a CJ replacement like we do now. It wouldn't have really made sense. Like, for Kawhi, and then we don't win a championship, then he leaves, and now we're rebuilding, and Dame isn't here anymore? Like, Jimmy Butler, and then he leaves because he left Philadelphia. So Jimmy Butler, and then he leaves, and then Dame might have left too if we were really that bad. Like,
I think so. People, I mean, obviously Indiana did their homework and made out incredibly well in that Paul George trade. But at the time, Oladipo was like not considered like a great player, and Sabonis was coming off his rookie year where he didn't really do much. So like that was not. Like, we offered them 3 first-round picks and their choice of pretty much anyone on the roster other than Dame and CJ. Like, I know people are saying, like, he doesn't take risks, but, like, I mean, he offered them the best possible package we could offer him short of trading him CJ. And who knows if they even wanted CJ at the time. Like, we don't even know, just because he didn't make CJ available, if they would have even been interested in CJ. But, yeah, it's just... It's frustrating. Like, in Kawhi Leonard, there's no way we could have gotten Kawhi Leonard. There's no way we could have gotten Anthony Davis last summer. Like, I understand, like, he needs to take a risk and do some stuff, but, like, at the same time, like, a team like the Clippers, they gave away their whole entire future, and they haven't won anything yet. Like, the Lakers haven't won anything with that roster yet. Like, it doesn't necessarily work out, and that's with like the second best player of all time on their team, and a guy like Kawhi who has someone else. But
Tobias Harris, what? Why? He's not better than CJ at all. He's worse, and it doesn't. I don't. Why? Tobias Harris is better at a 4 than a 3. Like, he's defensively, he's not good at the 3. Defensively, he's below average at the 3. He's like average-ish at the 4, but like. I don't know, like, why would we trade CJ for Tobias Harris? It doesn't make sense. Like, Tobias is and the thing is, Tobias Harris is paid a shit ton So we'd have to trade CJ for him. It doesn't really make sense unless we got him without trading CJ, but that doesn't make sense because he's paid so much. So
And Sherman's, we can't get Otto Porter Jr. He makes too much money. There's no way. Like that's we're stuck.
we will talk about the offseason when it comes here.
Yeah, but Buddy Hield, we can't get. Yeah,
Embiid wouldn't really make sense to go after, given what we'd have to give up, and we can't really match his contract. Like, it'd have to be like Nurkic and CJ for Embiid. Like, why? That I wouldn't do that.
No, Alvin Gentry's horrible too. We'd have most of the same problems.
Yep.
He can outcoach Stotts in a playoff series, but that's about it.
Nobody from Chicago interests me except for Otto Porter Jr., but like we can't match his salary because we don't have the contracts this offseason to do so without trading CJ. Zach LaVine had no interest in him whatsoever. Doesn't make any sense on this roster. Other than that, like I don't see them trading Wendell Carter Jr. unless they get a lot in return for him, and we already got Nurkic and might resign Whiteside, so Wendell Carter Jr. doesn't make sense. Like Lowry, they'd want a ton for, and he's not a good defender whatsoever, so doesn't really make sense with Dame and CJ, so nobody from Chicago really makes sense. That's the thing. There's not a lot of like trade ideas that make sense this summer. So we will try and come up with them once we get to the offseason, but we're going to wait until then. So.
Well, and so he says that like Olshey, I agree with y'all. I have been an Olshey apologist in the past. I'm just trying to like realistically look at it. I just hate when people say we should trade CJ for a small forward or a power forward, that they like never say who, and then you ask them who, and you list a bunch of people, and they don't they don't have any good opinions. Aaron Gordon sucks. He's terrible. Yeah, like,
who brought up why would okay? Let me just Aaron Gordon stats. Let's just look at this.
I don't. Please don't. Please.
I'm already there. There. Why would we want a guy that shoots this from 3? Why would we? He's not a good defender either. Why he shoots under 44% from the field. He shoots under 50% inside the arc, and he's a power forward. That's terrible. Shoots 30% from 3. True shooting percentage. Let's see it. 51.6%. He doesn't defend whatsoever. He's being paid like 16, 17 million for that. Why the hell would we want Aaron Gordon? It doesn't make sense to me. Eric hates us talking about it too. Yeah, because I know Aaron Gordon is a trigger name for you. I feel like there's certain names where I hear him, I'm like, oh, Blazer fans want him. I don't know why. Like Iman Shumpert is a trigger name for me.
I understand a few years ago when he potentially still, like there was that season 2 years ago where he actually was shooting like 42% from 3 the first like third of the season, and it looked like he was maybe turning the corner, kind of like Wiggins this year, right? But those guys don't get better. They don't. They just don't. Like, they suck. They don't have the work ethic. The guy does cool dunks. He has the most amazing gifted ability of anyone in the NBA, and he has those shooting stats and, like, can't score consistently. Like, and he's not a great defender with that athleticism. Like, your ass work ethic-wise if you are like that. And like, can you imagine if Dame had his mindset and his abilities with that body and athleticism? Like he'd be the best player of all time. Like, there's no excuse for him being that crappy. There's no excuse for Wiggins being as crappy as he is. Like, those guys are just not going to make this team better. And you don't trade a guy like CJ to get those kind of guys. It's like, I don't know. Like, an Aaron Gordon could come and be like our 4th or 5th option and be fine, but he's not going to like lead us to like some magical championship or that.
Random Universe says, I don't know if you're new or whatever. If you are new, welcome to the channel.
He's been commenting a lot.
Has he? Okay, sorry, missed that. But he said, Tori, I liked what you said on Twitter, shutting down the Grant trade so Blazer fan can stop asking about him. Yes, he's a free agent. Denver's probably going to pay him like $15 million a year. Like, they're probably going to keep him, right? In a sign and trade, you shouldn't count on that. And Denver, like, if we offered, like, Denver would have to agree to sign and trade him to us, which they probably wouldn't even do. Like, there's so many things that make a Jeremy Grant acquisition this summer so very unlikely that we shouldn't discuss him as a possibility. But Blazer fans just sit there like, oh, let's go get Jeremy Grant.
Yeah. And they also gave up a first round pick for him. But the other thing too is if the cap goes way down and the mid-level exception is lower than he could make next year if he picks up his player option, I could see him just accepting that player option and then signing a long-term deal in Denver the year after. But there's going to be a lot of those situations where if the more the cap number goes down, the less teams already have the little cap space that's available is going to be even less. And a guy like Jeremy Grant is either going to get paid by Denver or won't get anywhere near what he's going to make. So he might just make the decision, as a lot of players do with the short offseason, to just accept their player options and play 1 year, having guaranteed salary instead of like risking giving that up like almost 10 million and then having to wonder if a team's going to sign you or not. So I mean, obviously he would get signed, but it could be for like the tax mid-level or something instead of 9.3 million or whatever he's going to make next year already.
So I mean, like, I explained this on Twitter, and like this is one of my responses: we should just simply sign him to a long-term deal. What? Huh? How does that? What? Bro, like, he's gonna get a better deal than like 10 million a year for 4 years. He's gonna get like 15 million a year for 3 or something. Like, he's gonna get a better deal than that. Al-Farouq Aminu got $10 million a year for 3 years, right? Jeremy Grant's gonna get better than $10 million a year for 3 or 4 years. Like, come on. Yeah, it's not. Like, Max Kelly said in response to that tweet, he said, in theory, a guy like him would be perfect, but yeah, slim to none. I'm like, oh, definitely be the perfect guy, but the perfect guy in theory is too expensive for us because he's the perfect guy. Like, you know what I mean? Like, the perfect guy in theory for us is too expensive for us to just go sign him. It would have to be via trade. But this offseason, we don't really have contracts to trade. So, like, I don't expect a whole lot this offseason. I don't expect the big all-in move people want. But the thing is, we don't really have the ability to do that this offseason. So I don't want to hear people say, oh, we should have done something more and not name it. And then the thing is, most of the time when people name it, it doesn't even make sense or it's not even possible. Like, so I don't know. We go in depth on like coaching type stuff and X's and O's and scheme stuff, but we're also really good with the CBA and trade type of stuff and off-season type of stuff. We also are really good at that, better than anybody else that covers the team for sure. I'm more confident than that in that, you know, because me and Eric know the CBA extremely well. The thing is, like, I know there's probably a lot of new people to our channel that don't realize that about us yet, so we will see.
I hate to say his last name, but you know, like the Larry C guy, that's the CBA, the CBA guy who always like.
Oh yeah. Thank you for saying his last name because YouTube might be like.
Right. Anyways, he has like a sports business thing, and so I follow him on Twitter, and he every time he has one of his like it's like a class, and Stevie Cousins really recently went through it, but they like basically go through a mock off season like we did and like teach them about like how to sign a free agent and how to make trades and like so they understand like the business aspect of basketball more and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So it's always kind of funny watching these people who like are like paid to do this already and they're like, oh look, I learned how to do this in this class or whatever. I'm like, really? You didn't know how to do that already? But like it's kind of funny.
Yeah, we probably we should just take that class and then be like, we already know all this, you know. That's funny. Somebody said Jay Crowder, he shot 40% from 3 this year, 34%. Or no, he shot 40% from the field this year, 34% from 3. Shot 33% from 3 last year, 32% the year before. Like, he's not a good three-point shooter. But he shoots a lot of threes. He shoots about 6 a game in 27, 28 minutes. Volume shooter, doesn't shoot well from 3. I used to really like Jay Crowder back when he played for Boston, but he's just regressed since he left. Like, since that 1 year he had where he shot 40% from 3, averaged 14 a game, he's just kind of fallen off. Like, defensively he's good, but I want 3 and D guys, not just D guys.
So Sherman's is asking me about the 2007 draft and about the hype for Odin. Uh, it was kind of towards the end of this, but back in the day, people had a much stronger opinion that if you had a generational big man like a Shaq or Hakeem Olajuwon, Patrick Ewing type, that was one of the keys to being set up for a long run at a title. So Odin had a massive amount of skill. So I get the pick especially over a guy like Durant, but yeah, it's tough to not let hindsight like affect that. But Odin, if he stayed healthy, was like a generational type player, and unfortunately, he just had like 80-year-old knees, and he looks like he's like 60 years old too. But that guy was special, and if you've seen it, what were we like 50-12 or something like that in the games that it was 82, so it was like it was some insane record we had when Roy, Odin, and Aldridge actually played together on the court. Maybe it was like 60-22 or something, but yeah, they were unstoppable when they all played, and unfortunately injuries derailed two of them. But yeah, there was so much hype. Like there was a big rally when we got the first pick and we drafted Odin, and like yeah, it was crazy, but yeah, didn't work out.
Yeah. Anyway, gonna get off. Stream went long. Still got 40 people in here though. Oh, Zacho's back.
Still drunk?
He's coming down off the buzz. Zacho, what are you up to? You're drunk doing what right now? Gonna just wait for his answer. Credit shooting. Chiefin. That's in how many games?
I don't think he's played all the games, so like 6 or 7 games maybe.
That's in 20 games, but why would you take a 20 game sample instead of looking at the last 3 seasons, which is a 205 game sample? Which do you think is more telling? The 205 game sample, which also includes those 20 games, the 205 game sample is a lot more telling than a 20 game sample. So I'm not going to say, oh, we should get Jay Crowder because over this 20 game sample, he's shooting this well. No. Who has he been the past 3 years? He's been a 33% shooter pretty consistently. 32% a couple years ago. 33% last year, 34% this year. Like that is who he is as a shooter for his career, 34%. He's not how he shot in Miami. Like he has overachieved and just been on a hot streak. That's the thing. Over 20 game sample size, if a guy's on a hot streak, his numbers are going to look a lot better than who he actually is.
I mean, Ariza saw a bump when he kind of came here too, but yeah.
Well, so how many games has he played?
Crowder's one of those guys who's he would fit in decently on this roster, I think. But yeah, I wouldn't give up a ton for him.
I would much rather have Bielitsa. Much rather have Bielitsa.
Zacho said he was celebrating or finishing his summer classes. Nice.
Nice.
And VJK Tiger says, "Holy crap, you guys up late. I'm used to coming home from work and listening, not live." What's up, man? Sean Castile, he said, "Thanks for the hard work, guys." And how come you never comment, dude?
Yeah, I would love for more people to comment. More people that watch this and don't comment. I appreciate.
But thanks, man.
The compliment, man.
I'm just teasing you. People like to just watch or listen in the background.
Yeah, I feel it. I'm not complaining. I feel it. I just love seeing new people in chat. That's cool. And knowing that they've watched us, it's kind of trippy. Like, oh wow, you've watched us a lot, but I haven't seen you comment before. I don't really know you, So I like getting to know the community, if that makes sense.
No, Kyle Anderson's not a free agent.
But Chiefin, why would we go settle for like a 33% 3-point shooter and he'll get open looks? Why wouldn't we go get a 38% 3-point shooter and give him those open looks? I don't get it. He got open looks in Memphis. Like, I don't know. The thing is like guys don't automatically come here and just become like 5% better from the 3-point line. Trevor Ariza, it's only a 21 game sample. That's all I'll say. And he shot 40%, like 21 games though. If he does it over the whole entire season next year, then maybe I'll change my mind on that. But yeah. Hello?
Yeah, I'm here.
You falling asleep?
No, I was looking up something for Trevin.
Oh, you're like leaning back, so I was like, what the hell?
I think Vonleh is a free agent, isn't he?
What's
He's
good?
asking.
What's good about Bielisa besides shooting? He's a good passer. This year in 28 minutes per game, 2.8 assists. That's good for power forward per 36. That equals out to 3.6 assists. He's also much better inside the arc than Crowder. Bielisa shoots 54% inside the arc. Meanwhile, Jay Crowder shoots. Let me find it. Jay Crowder shoots. About similar, like 52, 53%, but he never takes shots inside the arc. Like, only like 30% of his shots come inside the arc. About 65, 70% of his shots come outside the arc. Meanwhile, Bielitsa is more like, he's just a better finisher inside the arc and can... Honestly, I'd probably say he's a little better off the dribble attacking as well. Like, just overall offensively, Bielitsa is like much better in multiple areas. Obviously, Crowder's the better defender, but I think Bielitsa is a bit underrated in that end. I think he's a smart defender. He doesn't have great physical tools, but see, like Eric thinks he's worse defensively than I do. Defensive stats paint him in an okay light. Advanced defensive stats, he has a 0.6, a plus 0.6 defensive box plus minus. I also believe he has a positive defensive real plus minus. You can't, tell too much off of like advanced defensive stats, but I feel like you can tell a little bit. You can take just a little bit from him. I think he's just a smart player, in every aspect of the game. So I think he'd come here and be okay defensively. If he's off the bench, his defense isn't going to be as much of a problem, and he's like a 42% 3-point shooter. So.
Yeah, Sanjay, good question, man.
If we lack defense, why would we not get a player like Crowder instead of Bielitsa? Well, the main problem with our defense is the damn scheme we run. So, like, we need to, in my opinion, we need to have, like, 3 good defenders on the court. Or 3 decent to good defenders on the court. You can survive with having 2, like, mediocre defenders on the court. So, starting lineup next year, Ariza, Collins, Nurkic, we're fine. Right? Off the bench, if you have one of Damon CJ in there, you have Gary Trent Jr., you have Rodney Hood, you have Bielitsa, and you have like Whiteside, I think we're fine defensively. I think Bielitsa's an average defender. Like, he's an average defender in my mind. I can see why you wouldn't want him if you think he's like a really bad defender. Definitely can see why you wouldn't want him there. But I think he's an average defender, and he's a lights-out 3-point shooter. I think Jay Crowder is a below-average offensive player. So...
So Shervins was asking about Michael Kidd-Gilchrist, why he was so hyped in 2012. It's because they won the championship with Anthony Davis and stuff. So people had his, deep run into the NCAA tournament on their mind. So he was a little overhyped, but yeah.
What do you mean, God, keep me on my toes?
Joking about this.
Man, as if I was struggling to respond to that, man. I will hype up Bielitsa all day. I like Bielitsa. I just know Eric thinks he's a worse defender than I do, so I understand why Eric doesn't want him.
Well, okay, so he's an average defender in this current situation he's in, but I feel like he'd be a worse defender on our team and our scheme because we need our forwards to make up for this scheme and stuff like that. So, if we had a different coach, I'd probably say that would be a great addition. But, yeah, it's not going to happen. So, with Stotts, it would certainly he would be awesome in Stotts' offensive scheme. But, yeah, I just feel
You're not asking him to start, though.
I know. It's just, I just get worried about any bigs that aren't, really good defenders.
But you're cool with having Melo as our backup for next year.
Well, Yeah, I mean, it's more like the that's more an intangible thing. It's not necessarily obviously Bielitsa at this point in their careers is probably um, better than Melo at the backup four. But yeah,
For me, it's like I just want to have lights out shooting off the bench. Like I want a bench that can come in and light people up when Dame's out of the game, and hopefully like be good enough defensively to like get some stops. So if you are able to have a bench with Gary Trent Jr., Rodney Hood, and Bielitsa as 3-point shooting, and like you throw CJ in running that bench lineup, like offensively, I think that like and then Whiteside is just like the big guy who can get putbacks and finish inside, and that's like offensively, I think that might be the best bench in the entire league. You know what I mean? I think the defense is just good enough where you have your perimeter stopper in Trent, you have Hood who's like okay, and you have Whiteside in there. Like I think defensively it's good enough to like be able to get some stops. Like obviously it's not going to lock down anybody, but I think that bench lineup would be a top 3 bench lineup, and that shooting would be phenomenal. You'd have 3 legitimate like 40% 3-point shooters off the bench, assuming Hood doesn't regress. So, and being able to have that shooting and be able to throw in that shooting, if one guy's hot, you'll be able to find like somebody will get hot each game. If you have that many lights out shooters, I feel like, and then you can ride the hot hand. I don't know. I just like the idea of trying to get as much shooting off the bench, and hopefully the defense is good enough. You can't add. If Bielitsa was a bad defender, I wouldn't be for him, but I think he's average and good enough to be able to like help the team out in that bench role. I don't know. But either way, I just wanted to have we should have a really good bench next year.
yeah.
Like
That's one thing. If Olshey messes this up and we're not super deep next year, or we didn't consolidate to like, I mean, it's one thing if we made a trade and got in like some sort of great player and we had to fill some holes or whatever.
Yeah.
But like, if we just like kind of run the course and say like health is going to be more on our side next year, but we don't have a super like deep 9-man rotation, and we're talking about like, well, how is Ant gonna get minutes? How is Little gonna get minutes on this team? Like, those are the questions we should be asking, not like, why the hell is Ant gonna have to be the backup point guard again, and Little's gonna have to play small forward, and but yeah.
Well, just look at our projected lineup next year. Like, if we lose Melo, right, we'd still have a bench of Gary Trent Jr., Rodney Hood, Hassan Whiteside if we bring him back. That's without using our mid-level exception or like factoring in our draft pick. That is 6 through 8. Really, really good. Really, really good 6 through 8. Right?
Well, if we bring back Ariza.
Well, we should. Like, I am assuming we bring him back. Like, it doesn't. Like, yeah, maybe the finances get so screwed up that we don't, but like, I'm just at this point, like, I'm assuming it's not going to get that screwed up to where we let him go and that we are going to bring him back. But yeah, that's the thing. Like Trent, Hood, Whiteside, like without adding anything to it, like that's dope. That's a really good bench. And then with the mid-level exception, fill that back up forward. Maybe bring back Melo, or maybe you go out and get somebody else. Or what I prefer. And this is part of the reason I like the idea of trading for Bielitsa, trading our first-round pick for Bielitsa and one of Sacramento's early seconds, because they do have early seconds, so we could still pick back up in early second. With how much of a crapshoot this draft is, I honestly don't think that's that much of a downgrade, like pick-wise, right? But if you do that, Bielitsa fits into our trade player exception. We wouldn't have to give up anybody for him. He slots in at the backup 4. So then you have Trent, Hood, Bielitsa off the bench, right? All you'd need is a backup center. In the case that Whiteside leaves or we don't bring him back, we could just use our mid-level exception on a backup center and replace him and have a full rotation. Whereas if we don't make that trade for Bielitsa, we kind of need to use that mid-level exception on a backup 4. And then if Whiteside leaves, we only have the mid-level exception really to fill the backup 4 and the backup 5. Whereas if we use the trade player exception for Bielitsa, we can fill one of those spots and then have the mid-level exception left over in case we don't bring back Whiteside. If we bring back Whiteside too, we would have a full rotation without even using our mid-level exception. We would have a bench of Trent, Hood, Bielitsa, and Whiteside without even using our mid-level exception. So I just like the way it would set up the offseason and provide us with some flexibility. If some Whiteside gets a good offer, we don't think he's the answer, we could move off him and replace him easily. So
Yep. And their new GM, like, who knows? Maybe it looks like it's going to be Dumars for a year, maybe.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, it it's not all the time, but a lot of new GMs like to make draft picks in their first year because if they hit on a draft pick, that's like one of the easiest ways to secure your job there. Or if you don't, you can always say, "Hey, I know the team sucked this year, but we have these two draft picks. They're super young. They're still like 19 years old. Like you have to give me time to like make sure I can show you how good they're going to be, you know." So you have like kind of excuse built in, but yeah.
Yeah. Kevin Reese, I just looked up kind of what you were talking about. Lonzo Ball looked checked out with the Pelicans. I don't see anything about him saying he's pissed off. Yeah. Nah. They're not going to drastically change things. But, like, hey, if we made that trade for Bielitsa, Derek Favors, because he just got brought up, Derek Favors would be a great backup center to have. You know, if we moved off Whiteside, Derek Favors would be great. I like Derek Favors. So, I don't know, but that's the thing. It's like, that'd be a couple simple moves. Honestly, if we brought back Whiteside, that would be one move is the trade for Bielitsa. One move this offseason, we'd have a great bench. Like a top 3 bench in the league. Dame has never had that. I would want to see what a Dame-led team looks like with having that much offensive firepower off the bench. Like, that lineup should be a top 3 offense in the league. Just hopefully, somehow, defensively, it'd be average. You know?
We said we're going to talk about the offseason, and we talked about it for like an hour.
I mean, there's not a whole lot to talk about the stream. It was either talk about the offseason or get off, which I should have gotten off because I need to work still. So, I saw it on Instagram, and I think Brian Windhorst and Zach Lowe said the front office are making changes. Yeah, we'll see. I don't know. Like, the team, just the construction of the team is weird. You got 2 ball-dominant defensive guards who, like, kind of needs the ball in their hands to be effective in Drew Holiday and Lonzo Ball, and then Ingram's and Zion's fit is still kind of questionable, and what are you going to do at long-term center? You probably need a stretch 5 there. Jackson Hayes isn't really that, but having a stretch 5 would be best for Zion. But also needs to be a rim protector. Because, like, Zion can block shots, but, like, he's not, like, a rim protector. He's a power forward. He's, like, a weak side shot blocker. He's not, like, a guy that anchors your D. Because most of the time he's going to be chasing around 4s. So, I don't know. Like, they definitely have some questions there to answer this offseason. It'll be interesting for them. But anything else you want to get to, Eric? Any questions or anything?
Nope. Just get a win tomorrow. We'll be back tomorrow right after the game with the post-game show. Hopefully we're celebrating making the playoffs.
Yep. Hopefully, man. Either way, we will be streaming, unless we lose both games. We will be streaming Monday unless we lose both games. If we make it into the first round, we will be streaming Monday, previewing that series against the Lakers. Mm-hmm. So if we, lose tomorrow, we'll have our post-game stream on Sunday too. And then we'd have the preview stream on Monday if we won that. Or if we win tomorrow, we won't stream Sunday and we'll have our preview stream on Monday. So I'm hoping Sunday will be a day off.
Yeah.
I can work and catch up on that instead of, taking 5 hours out of my day, It would be nice to be able to catch up on earning some money through my job, so. Watch party was awesome. I'm hoping we have one for Thursday. We're not going to do another one this season. We're not going to do one for playoffs. But next season, Kevin, we will have 1 to 2 1 to 2.
They haven't said like actual live ones, maybe.
Yeah, like next season,
okay.
Hopefully we'll have actual live ones, and we'll like figure.
Not everyone will be able to do it, but yeah.
Yeah.
We don't know. They haven't said when the Bubble Awards are going to be announced, so I'm not sure.
Yeah. You guys wouldn't want to see us lose our minds at a playoff game. I mean, you saw what what it was. We were instead.
Shervins, Tori posted the actual video of the whole game. You can just go fast forward till the end and
is Shervins in the Discord?
Maybe not.
Shervins, I put it in the Discord. You got to join our Discord to get it. I will post a link here if anybody wants to just join our Discord. But yeah, and timestamp your favorite moments in the comment section if you want. But I did post it in the video in stream section.
I went back and looked at the end of the game. It wasn't as bad as I thought, but
me throwing my hat.
Yeah.
Oh man.
I thought we were both like equally like pissed off at certain points. Like I definitely got pissed off like earlier in the game, and
got
then,
pissed off later.
but towards the end you were like way more furious. Yeah.
I threw. I was. It was easy to find when I threw my hat because I was like, oh, well, I still have my hat on here. Oh, I don't have it on there. I've, like narrowed it down. Yeah, there was a segment where I like chucked my hat across the room. Oh.
Sanji, yeah, that's how we watch games. So we get so frustrated.
Yeah, it was. Quit dropping the effing big. Gosh, so stupid. Chuck my hat like. Yeah, that's how it is. I mean, it just gets frustrating.
Yeah, Joel, I thought it was going in. Oh, great.
I would have been off social media for a while.
Yeah.
But. Yeah, it was scary as hell. It was so scary. I didn't know people got into that.
Oh, dude. Both Tori and I get super into it. Like,
I'm competitive, bro.
This is our life, man.
Yeah. So, anyway, I will catch you guys tomorrow at like 2 with the post game stream. Unless it goes into like quadruple overtime, then it would be more like 3:30. Hopefully it doesn't do that. Couldn't handle that, but I bet Grizzlies game going to be won by 2 or 3 points. Yeah, I mean, like, Blazers don't blow teams out. If there was a time that the Blazers were going to blow a team out, it would be this game, I feel like. I feel like if the Blazers lose this game, then the game after that is like probably going to be close.
And our season will come down to like some random player on the Grizzlies, whether they make a shot at the buzzer.
Dylan Brooks, is he going to break Ducks fans' hearts and Blazer fans' hearts too? Like, yeah. Hopefully not. Hopefully we get this one tomorrow. So,
holy crap! The spread's up to 7
for Portland.
Yeah.
I mean,
I looked like 2 hours ago. It was at 5.
Yeah, I definitely take the Grizzlies there. You gonna put money on the Grizzlies? A little bit of money?
Well, yeah, I put like a couple bucks on the Nets the other day.
Yeah.
I'm not disappointed I lost it at all. I just like, at least if they lose, I won a few dollars.
Yeah. I mean, the Grizzlies have gotten blown out. They lost in OT to Portland game 1. They lost by 2 in the next game to San Antonio. They lost by 10 to New Orleans. I think that was the game they lost to Jaren Jackson Jr. They lost by 9 to Utah after that. They've kept it within 10 most of their games, but like they've struggled. You know, I mean, this is probably like the worst team we'll have played all bubble because it's like, I don't know. I don't think this team is better than Brooklyn right now. And they're definitely better, not better than they were game 1 because they don't have Jaren Jackson now. So, be interesting.
Yep, Joel with the ultimate trump card is that we always play down the competition, so it doesn't matter. Doesn't matter.
Yeah, but like Brooklyn had guys that were playing well like before that. That like Tyler Johnson had good games before that. Had a good game against the Clippers. Like Luau Cabarro had good games before that. Garrett Temple was playing well going into that game. With Memphis, I just don't see as many guys that are playing well going into this game. So I'm hoping that like maybe they miss maybe they don't get comfortable even though we try and let them get comfortable, and maybe they miss the shots that like Tyler Johnson were hitting, maybe that's Dylan Brooks and maybe he's missing them and maybe it can actually be like a comfortable win. I don't know. We'll see. But yeah, I will catch you guys tomorrow. Thank you guys for watching. Hope you guys have a good rest of your night. And I'm out of here. So until about 13, 14 hours from now. Until then, peace out. Go Blazers.